his name and start it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Vakratunda.
Okay. Okay. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Nagendraharaya Trilochanaya Bhasmangaragaya Maheshwaraya Nityaya Shuddhaya Digambaraya Tasmai Nakaraya Namah Shivaya Mandakini Salila Chandan Charchitaya Nandishwar Pramathanatha Maheshwaraya Mandar Pushpa Bahu Pushpa Supujitaya Tasmai Makaraya Namah Shivaya Shivaya Gauri Vadanabja Vrinda Suryaya Dakshadvara Nashakaya Srinilakantaya Vrishadvajaya Tasmai Shikaraya Namah Shivaya Vasishta Kumbhodbhava Gautamarya Munindra Devarchita Shekharaya Chandrarka Vaishvanara Lochanaya Tasmai Vakaraya Namah Shivaya Yaksha Swarupaya Jatadharaya Pinak-hastaya Sanatanaya Divyaya Devaya Digambaraya Tasmai Yakaraya Namah Shivaya. Har Har Mahadev. We'll start.
Another slogam is there, no? Vishnu.
Yeah, okay. Just a moment, sir. One moment.
Suklam Bharadram Vishnu.
Shuklam Bharadharam Vishnum Shashivaranam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vigna Upasante. Arpita, what page number we were at?
Jalandhara.
157.
One moment, I'll just start sharing my screen.
I will read first. Okay. Jalandhara. Like this.
Okay, so 1 minute.
Jalandhar.
Yep, that's it.
Make it big, ma.
Oh, okay.
You cannot see. Make it big. Biggest, ma.
Is it okay?
Okay. Hiranyakasipu's son had son named Sugara. By worshipping Brahma, he obtained the boon of being invincible against any demon or serpent or god or human being or weapon. Building himself a mighty capital in the seabed, he started persecuting the three worlds. The Sugara is the same as Jalandhara. Even hungry babies would be frightened out of suckling if they heard his name. He destroyed all the sacrificial altars and was molesting the wives of the sages. The helpless wails of those women were extremely bothering the Trinity of God. Not content with his misdeeds elsewhere, Jalandhara, accompanied by his army, went up to Kailash to challenge Lord Shiva for a fight. Since he did not want to negate the boon granted by Brahma, Shiva disappeared, leaving behind even his constant companion and consort Parvati. Unable to find Shiva, Jalandhara went to Vaikuntha and pressed Vishnu to fight with him. Vishnu followed the same example of Shiva for the same reason. Under the impression that he frightened even Shiva and Vishnu, Jalandhara returned to his kingdom like a conquering hero. Unable to find their husbands, Parvati and Lakshmi were painfully restless. Shiva and Vishnu went down to Lake Manasarovar and there began praying to Parashakti. The Supreme Mother was impressed by their worship and appearing before them, advised them to exchange their weapons in order to kill Jalandhara. As Shiva took Vishnu's disc weapon and Vishnu received Shiva's trident, sage Narada approached them and said, Sirs, what is the reason behind you coming here, leaving behind your homes and wives, and now exchanging your weapons? If you are preoccupied with saving yourself from onslaught of Jalandhara, what happens to the rest of the universe? It is not your destined duty that you should protect the helpless, virtuous being and punish the vicious people. So, inciting the two deities, Narada went to Jalandhara's realm and receiving his hospitality spoke to him, Jalandhara, your valor is matchless. Shiva and Vishnu are hiding at Lake Manasarovar and plotting against you. If you do not manage to separate them, you will be courting disaster. Jalandhara left for Lake Manasarovar and told the two deities, Sirs, I pity you because you ran away like cowards from your own abodes. Don't you know that a real hero cares little for his life? If you don't want to prove yourself, come and fight with me. Shiva and Vishnu
Sorry. Sorry, just over here.
Were amused at Jalandhara's ignorance and vanity, revealed to him the real reason for their self-imposed exile, and added, You must stop pestering the wives of sages, otherwise your sins will destroy you. Go to Vaikuntha or Kailasha and try to rule those kingdoms if you like. Jalandhara replied, Stop this roundabout backcut. If you are genuine heroes, come and fight with me. You cannot escape me anyway now. So speaking, he flung all his mighty weapons against the two gods. Shiva aimed the disc at Jalandhara and Vishnu attacked him with the trident. Jalandhara was unable to withstand the force of that attack. He cried, Sirs, the weapons you flung at me are torturing me. Still, I don't want to flee from the battleground. Just grant that I will accord salvation, for I now regret my misdeeds and agree that the tears of the wives of sages are now virtually burning me. Please receive my last salutations. Shiva and Vishnu then regained their respective weapons, which came back to each of them in rightful manner after fulfilling the task of killing Jalandhara. The gods and sages praised the two deities who were lovingly received by their consorts when they returned to their respective abode. Banasura, the demon king Bali, had a son named Banasura. He had 1,000 arms. He conquered all the three worlds. He was ruling the entire universe, making Sonipura his capital. As the court orchestra struck the music, he danced with supreme skill in favor of Lord Shiva. Shiva was pleased with his dance and asked him to seek a favor. Demon requested the deity that the later stand God at the gate of his fort. Shiva agreed. The later stand God at the gate of his fort. Okay. Before taking up his duty, Shiva went back to Kailas and reported to Parvati what happened. She was grieved at her Lord's thoughtless mercy. Seeing her grief, Shiva agreed to take her along with him to Sonipura. When the divine couple left the palace, Mount Kailas lost all its splendor. Oh, is it not the irony of fate that one of the trinity of gods should be the gatekeeper of Demon King? Princess Usha. Banasura had a daughter called Usha, whose beauty could not be matched even by the celestial courtesans. Besides, she was accomplished in the arts of music, dance, and literature. One day, after she came of age, she went into the forest accompanied by her maids. The forest goddess bade her welcome. Flora and fauna appeared to put on a new grace at the sight of her. The swans in the lake moved more delightfully, and the peacock danced more scintillatingly as they saw the princess. Usha began swimming in the lake along with her friends. For the fun of it, she assumed the form of Parvati. The maids also put on strange garbs. They also went to visit the Shiva temple in the nearby pleasure garden. After finishing their swim, Usha felt prostrate at the feet of images of Shiva and Parvati. Pleased with the princess, Parvati revealed herself and said, "Child, how you should love me, that you should took on my form and took me in for a while. I want to grant you a boon. Fast on the 12th day of bright fortnight of Chitra. In the night, you will see a handsome youth who will be your husband and will make you immensely happy." The princess thanked the goddesses suitably and returned to the palace along with her maids. Thus, several days passed by. Dream boy. The 12th day of bright fortnight of the month of Chaitra dawned eventually. As foretold by Parvati, Usha saw an extremely handsome youth in her dreams at the midnight. She cried aloud to her maids, "There can't you see the incarnation of Cupid, he who resembles a dark cloud in hue, with his black hair and complexion, he who is resplendent with his gem-studded broad forehead with wide eyes, ornamented ears and neck. He who is silk clad, he who is stealing sidelong glances at me, who is telling my heart, now please get me pure water, fragrant flowers, delicious food, and sweet milk, so that I can serve my Lord to my heart's content." Indeed, Goddess Parvati's words have come true, and my would-be husband has come to me. The maids realized the princess was dreaming aloud, did everything in their power to quieten her, and then woke up her. As Usha opened her eyes, she could no longer see her dream boy. Consequently, she dropped tears of dejection from her eyes. Chitrarekha. As Usha was drying her eyes with the hem of her sari, one of her maids, Chitrarekha, said, "Dear princess, have you seen your prince charming in your dream? Are you afraid you may not see him again? But have you ascertained his whereabouts? If so, tell me, I will go and fetch him to you." Usha replied, "You don't seem to realize how clever that the stranger is. He seems to be adept in the art of love. He simply bewitched me by his good looks. So I swept off my feet that I could not think of asking me who he was as or where he lived. I am sure Goddess Parvati's forecast will not fail. Still, I wish you could go and find him, for you alone are capable of doing so." Chitrarekha, the eldest and wisest of her maids, told Usha, "Dear princess, why this needless anxiety? Anyway, I shall paint the pictures of all the handsome princes in these three worlds. Point out to me the one who took your fancy, and I will bring him to you." After rejecting many pictures and expressing a wish to go to the pleasure garden to see if the picture prince was hiding there, at last Usha was shown a picture that convinced her that it was the one she found in her dream. Seeing the true painting, she bent her head bashfully. A little later, she addressed Chitrarekha, "Chitra, you lived up to your name, which means a picture. I want a reward you suitably." So speaking, she kissed the cheek of Chitrarekha. When Chitra asked her, "Is this really the stranger whom you love?" Usha hid her face in her veil and nodded her head. At last, she once, lift ma,
Again,
once again
oh,
requested her friend to go and bring him to her. Next page. Aniruddha. Then Chitrarekha told Usha, "Princess, this stranger is no ordinary mortal. He is the son of Rati and Manmata. He lives in Dwaraka. His name is Anuruddha. He is the grandson of Lord Krishna, a mighty hero and extremely handsome prince. Verily, it is the grace of Goddess Parvati that enabled you to find this charming prince in your dream. Now let us see how you will actually become his life partner in real life." Usha then urged her to go to Dwaraka immediately and bring the prince to her, threatening that otherwise she would put an end to her life. Dwaraka. Chitrarekha set off to the city Dwaraka with a prayer on her lips to Mother Shakti. The Divine Mother responded through an aerial voice, Chitra, Mother Shakti is pleased with you. She granted you the ability to enter the bedroom of Aniruddha and carry him along with his bed to the bedroom of Usha. Encouraged by these words, Chitra left to the city of Dwaraka with redoubled hope. She was delighted to see the hallowed town where she could see the splendid castle of Lord Krishna himself, next to which was situated that of his brother Balarama. She suggests that in as much as Anuruddha was the favorite of Lord, his abode would be on the other side of Krishna's. Then her gaze fell on the large sheds, wherein the holy cows were being well nourished by the cowherds, and the fond of lovers going to meet each other in the bright moonlight, on the lilies in the lakes which were blooming at the sight of moon. She decided on first paying her reverential respect to Lord Krishna before going to meet Anuruddha. Lift ma, this Lord Krishna and Satyabhama. Chitrarekha entered the loftiest palace in Dwaraka. The interior was dazzling, beautiful with vari-colored bright lights, and from the bedroom was wafted the winds carrying the perfume of musk. Inside she could see the large mirror on the four walls, and on huge table a golden vessel containing cow's milk and golden plates filled with variety of delicacies. On the bed of soft eider down, she could see the lovely epitome of highest feminine grace and virtue. She could guess that lady was Satyabhama. Realizing that they were resting after a delicious wild love play, she longed for the day when she too would be able to enjoy the caresses of her future husband. She then began to describe to herself the divine grace and the eternal beauty of Satyabhama. She bowed to the feet of the blessed couple and mentally prayed for their blessing for the success of her mission. Then she entered the palace next to the Lord Krishna, wherein she directly witnessed the sleeping Anuruddha, who looked like an incarnation of Cupid. Next, anybody can read
I
from
can
here?
read, sir.
Okay.
I can read. Dream Girl. At the moment of her entry, Aniruddha was dreaming about Usha and speaking aloud in his sleep. O precious beauty, I am spellbound by the power of your good looks. I have discovered the meaning of your sidelong glances. You are mine, and I am yours. I am looking forward to the moment when I can touch your hand. What are you hesitating for? There is none hereabouts. Come and meet me. All the riches of man and nature are in plenty here. You will not find even the least little desire of yours unfulfilled in my home or town. Let us now be united in mind and body and soul. Chitralekha no longer hesitated. She lifted him and his bed through the mysterious powers accorded to her by Mother Shakti and took him to Usha right away. The highly gratified Usha presented her with a necklace studded with all the 9 kinds of gems. As Usha was awaiting his pleasure, Aniruddha woke up and before his eyes he saw the very girl he dreamt about. As he looked around the bedroom of Usha, he could understand that he was not in his own room. He asked Usha, Princess, may I know who you are? Tell me the secret of my being here. Usha said, I am the daughter of Banasur. This is Sonpura, the capital of his kingdom. My name is Usha. Anirudh then told her about his dream of the previous night. Usha informed him about her own dream and about how Mother Shakti helped in bringing them together. She also introduced Chitralekha to him and said that it was this maid of hers that was instrumental in factualizing the theoretical boon of the Divine Mother. Then she took Aniruddha to the bathroom, where she provided him with the choicest bathing material. When he finished his bath, she decorated him with the richest raiment and with the most precious jewels. Chitrarekha then served the couple with sumptuous food and drink and went away, leaving them alone. Usha and Aniruddha were feeding each other with loving tenderness. Aniruddha expressed his admiration for the elegant artfulness with which her bedroom is decorated and also for the artistic skill of Chitrarekha, who painted the pictures on the wall. He jokingly asked her whether it was she herself or her parents that sent for him. Usha replied that it was the will of God and the grace of the mother that united them. She then led him to another room where he had to make his abode incognito. But still, the spies managed to learn about Aniruddha's arrival and informed Panasur about the fact. Bana ordered his men to kill him because the demon king was a devotee of Lord Shiva and could not relish the idea of a protege of Lord Vishnu for his son in law. The soldiers of Bana flung several of their wild weapons at Aniruddha, who repulsed them through his parigha weapon and actually killed them all. Bana, learning the news of his men's defeat and of the love between Usha and Aniruddha, thought to himself, how strange that a human being could win the love of a princess of the demonic race. One knows of the many former instances when our people married the human beings, but this is the first time it happened the other way about. This is a crime that cannot be pardoned. I have also to punish Usha's mates who must have misled her. Battle. So deciding, Banasur took along with him the army of Rishandu and went to attack Aniruddha. Aniruddha hit Bana with a fierce arrow, as a result of which the latter disappeared into the sky. After hitting Bana, the arrow killed a number of his soldiers nearby. Rishandu was amazed at the skill of Aniruddha. Learning about the fight, Usha was much perturbed. She was surprised that her father should have acted against her will, nor could she appreciate the fact that her father was working on Aniruddha the animosity he has against Vishnu. But she could not venture to stop her father, who was unjustly trying to separate her from her lover. Reappearing on the scene, Bana was steadfastly aiming his arrows at Aniruddha. Aniruddha easily repulsed the demon king's attack. At last, when Bana was trying to cut the head of Aniruddha with his sword, Rishandu stopped him and suggested that he would imprison Aniruddha instead. At that juncture, an aerial voice was heard saying, Bana, you're a thoughtless person. Aniruddha is actually a devotee of Lord Shiva. You must beware of the sin of separating true lovers. Be patient till your flag mast is struck off, then your vanity will vanish. Bana was bewildered. He arrested Aniruddha by means of serpent weapon bonds, Nagpash, and retired to his palace thereafter. Here the worried Usha prayed Shiva and Parvati for help. Aniruddha also begged Parvati to come to his rescue. She took pity on him and kicked the serpent bonds with her left foot. As he was freed from his bonds, she exercised a counterbalancing yogic power and effected his transfer to the bedroom of Usha from the prison. The reunited lovers thanked the Divine Mother reverentially. There at Dwarka, the disappearance of Aniruddha caused great concern to his parents. Krishna was also sorry to hear the wails of Aniruddha's wives. Learning the news of Aniruddha's whereabouts from Narad, Krishna set off for Sonipura on his Garuda mount, accompanied by his brothers and cousins. When they arrived at their destination, Krishna was surprised to see Shiva and Parvati keeping watch over the gates of Sonipura. Shiva and Parvati ordered the Pramatha hosts to be prepared for any eventuality. Krishna was laughing within himself at the thought of any fight with the divine couple who already protected Aniruddha. Krishna expressed his gratitude to them for that good deed of theirs. Shiva and Parvati were, for their part, unhappy at the need to fight with Lord Krishna, but it is the ordained duty of Krishna to kill Bana, whereas Shiva had to rescue the demon who was his devotee. Battle between Shiva and Vishnu. So Shiva and Krishna, incarnation of Vishnu, had no choice out to fight on behalf of and against Bana respectively. Krishna relieved the disease emanating from the Vaishnava power. Shiva sent up the disease extracted from the Shiva energy, and the two disease-causing forces began battling with each other in the celestial region. The celestial denizens who witnessed that fierce duel were frightened and begged the two deities, O Lord Shiva, O Lord Vishnu, please be reconciled to each other and give up this battle. Otherwise, the whole universe will soon be exterminated. You, whose duty is to save the world, must you indulge in an activity detrimental to the whole world? This appeal was followed by Bana's apology to Vishnu. Consequently, Shiva and Krishna stopped their fighting. Shiva and Parvati instructed Bana to make necessary arrangements for the wedding of Usha and Aniruddha. Wedding of Usha and Aniruddha. Bana again begged Shiva and Vishnu for forgiveness of his folly and requested them to stay on for the wedding and to bless the young couple. They agreed. The wedding of Usha and Aniruddha was performed in superb style. The entire city of Sonata shone with the brilliance of the artificial lights, and the citizens went wild with the merriment befitting the occasion. Shiva and Parvati and other honored guests gave and received rich gifts and returned home after blessing the newlyweds. Krishna took Usha and Aniruddha to Dwarka. Rukmini and Satya fulfilled the formalities of ceremonial welcome to the young couple, and the entire inhabitants turned out to greet them with joy and congratulations. Bana felt that his life's mission was fulfilled by his daughter, becoming the daughter-in-law of Manmatha. Nandishwara. Sage Salankayana had a worthy wise son named Shilada, but Shilada himself had no children. As he was praying to Lord Shiva, his body was covered by ant hills. The worms preyed upon his blood and flesh, and he became much emaciated. Pleased with his rigorous penance, Shiva appeared before him and touched his forehead, whereby Shilada regained his fully healthy body. On being asked to seek the boon he wanted, Shilada said, Lord, my craving is for a son who is not born of woman, who will be well versed in the scriptures, and who will live long in dedicated devotion to thee. Shiva said, So be it, and disappeared. Shilada went home and began digging the ground to prepare an altar for the sacrificial fire. When the sacrificial fireplace was ready, from within it appeared a supremely lovely infant. Shilada immediately took him into his arms and caressed him, and thanked Lord Shiva for the ready manifestation of his boon. Then he took that superbly resplendent child to his wife. Seeing the lady, the infant smiled at her knowingly and stretched his arms towards her. She was extremely delighted at this gesture of the baby and right away carried him in her arms to the cradle and put him to sleep after mysteriously finding herself suckling him. The next day, Shilada and his wife performed the christening ceremony of the child. The priests and the guests blessed the child that he should grow into a wise Vedic scholar. Then an aerial voice was heard. O sage Shilada, name this child of yours as Nandi, thereby your fame will increase. Shilada gladly did so. When Nandi was 5 years old, he was sent to the Gurukul, school in the hermitage, where he learnt everything worth learning after being taught only once by the teacher. As Nandi was celebrating his sacred week of initiation, sage Mitra Varuna came to the hermitage of Shilada. After receiving Shilada's hospitality, Mitra Varuna was introduced to Nandi. The guest was extremely pleased with the personal grace and the scholarliness of Nandi. Nandi bowed to the feet of Mitra Varuna and expressed his gratitude. Then Mitra Varuna read the palm of Nandi and told Shilada that the boy was indeed a genius, but that he might not live long. Shilada was crestfallen. But Nandi spoke to his father. Sir, you're needlessly worried. Why should you think that Shiva's boon will be set at naught by the god of death? Hasn't the Lord assured long life to me? After this consoling his father, Nandi went to the forest to perform a great penance. Pleased with his penance, Shiva, along with his consort, appeared before him and placed his hand on the boy's head by way of promising him fearlessness. Abhayahasta. At the touch of the Lord's hand, Nandi stirred out of his deep meditation. Opening his eyes, he saw the divine couple and fell prostrate at their feet and begged them that he be allowed to stay with them always. Shiva told him, Good boy, I am very much impressed by your devotion. From now on, you are assured of longevity. We also invite you to stay with us forever. Parvati placed a lotus garland around Nandi's neck. Shiva sprinkled a drop of water from the river Ganga in his braid by way of holy anointment. The water so sprinkled has formed itself into 5 branches of river: Trisrota, Jatodaka, Swarnodaka, Jambu, and Vrishadhwani. It is reputed that those who take a dip in them would be delivered from their sins. Shiva took Nandi to Kailash and made him commander of some of his horses. The Marut gods brought one of their daughters, Sukirti, to Shiva's abode and requested him to accept on behalf of Nandi her hand in marriage. Complying with their request, Shiva and Parvati first performed Nandi's Upanayanam in strict accordance with the scriptural instruction and then celebrated the wedding of Sukirti and Nandi. Shiva told Nandi, "You and your parents can live in comfort in my dwelling. From today onwards, you will be my constant companion and advisor and accompany me wherever I go." Verily, how fortunate is Nandi to receive such a favor from Lord Shiva. Kala Bhairav. Provoked by his self importance, Brahma declared, "I am the creator. I am the first of the Trinity. All must worship me, therefore, first of all." Hearing these vain words of Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva called upon the Vedas to inform them about who is the first of the Trinity. The Vedas said that Shiva was the first. Still, Brahma maintained that the opinion of the Vedas was wrong. Vishnu kept quiet. Shiva was angered and uttered a cry of defiance. Hum. Then a three-eyed ferocious form of his Rudra facet, designated as Bhairava, rose from that cry and wielding his trident, beating his drum, and dancing the cosmic dance, began shaking up the earth and the sky. The Bhairava emanation then bowed to the feet of his original progenitor, Shiva. Then he drew out from Brahma's head the cortical tissue, Medas, named Ajnana, ignorance, and flung it away. The place where that Medas was thrown is called Brahma Kapalam. Shiva was now pacified. He addressed Bhairava. "Hereafter you will be known as Kala Bhairava. Since you were born in my presence, you will always remain by my side as my bodyguard." By now Brahma's vanity vanished. He apologized to Shiva. Shiva forgave him. Shiva and Vishnu retired to their homes. Back home, Shiva told Bhairava, "You were guilty of killing a part of Brahma. The sin that accrues to you because of that act will always stick to you. The place where you cut off Brahma's cortical tissue will be known as Varanasi, Kashi. It will be the greatest pilgrim center in the world. First, take a dip in all the holy rivers, visit all the places of pilgrimage, and then perform the Kapalika related to the skull worship before you settle down at Kashi. Thereby, your sin of killing a part of Brahma will be washed away. Later, being the lord of the holy city of Kashi, you will be serving me forever." As Kala Bhairava started on his pilgrimage, Vishnu told Narad, "Kal Bhairava is going round the world performing the Kapalika worship. Go and broadcast to the world not to offer him alms wherever he goes." Narada literally followed Vishnu's instruction. As none was offering him food, at last Kal Bhairava went up to Vishnu and sought his help. Then Vishnu suggested that he would step into the temple of Vishweshwara as soon as he entered Kashi, for thereby his sins would be gone. As he did so, not only was Kal Bhairava freed from his sins, but he also gained a handsome form and became the lord of the sacred city of Kashi. All the devotees who anoint with oil the image of Kala Bhairava on the Shani Trayodashi day will be delivered from all evil and will enjoy great prosperity. Incarnation of Sarabha. Even after killing Hiranyakashipu, the anger of Narasimha, incarnation of man-lion, was not quenched. At Shiva's instance, Veerabhadra assumed a gigantic bird's form with 4 faces, 2 feet, 2 wings, and ferocious claws and eyes, and stood threateningly before Lord Narasimha. The gods requested both of them to become peaceful and be reconciled. Both Veerabhadra, who assumed that guise of Sarabha, and Vishnu as the incarnation of Narasimha, acceded to the request of the gods. Then Sarabha, reassuming his original form of Veerabhadra, bowed to the feet of Vishnu and Lakshmi, who blessed him. Everyone was happy. Yaksheshwara. Lord Vishnu ordered the gods and the demons to churn the milky sea. As they did so, first the poisonous fire of Halhala arose from the sea. By imbibing it, Lord Shiva saved the world from the Holocaust. Since he deposited the flaming poison Garala in his throat, Kantha, he is also known as Garala Kantha. Later, goddess Lakshmi came out of the churned milky sea. Lord Vishnu married her. Indra took possession of the divine elephant Airavat, the divine horse Uchesravas, the all-yielding cow Kamadhenu, and the all-giving tree Kalpavriksha. Lord Vishnu received the vessel of nectar that came out of the churning and, craftily assuming the form of the enchantress Mohini, deceived the demons and distributed it among the gods, who thereby became immortal. The demoness Simhika had a son named Rahu. He found out Vishnu's ruse of denying the ambrosia to the demons. Thereupon he assumed the shape of gods and sat among them. As he stretched his palm and received the nectar, the sun and the moon discovered who he really was and alerted Vishnu Mohini about the fact. Vishnu flung his disc at Rahu. Although his head and trunk were separated thereby, he did not die because of the ambrosia he already drank up. Noticing that fact, Vishnu attached his head to his feet and allowed him to be one of the planets now bearing his name. The demons were offended by the ill treatment received by one of their kin and began attacking the gods. Still, because of the ambrosia they imbibed, the gods won the fight. The demons took to their heels, leaving behind them their dead. The gods thought that the victory was due to their own valor and were becoming vainglorious about it as they returned to their celestial abode. One day, Shiva, in the guise of a yaksha, went to the court of Indra and asked about the reason for the vain prattling of the gods. The god said, "Sir, you seem to be ignoramus. We have taken possession of all the good things that came out of the churning of the milk sea. We have become invincible by virtue of our drinking the nectar, as we proved in our fight with the demons. That is why we are expressing ourselves in this manner, by way of self congratulation." Then Shiva threw down onto the floor a piece of grass and asked them to lift it. Unable to do so, the gods bent their heads in shame. Then an aerial voice said, "O gods, know this Yaksha to be verily Lord Shiva. Without his grace, you could not lift even a piece of grass. How could you say that it was your valor that brought you victory? Accept the fact that you are at the mercy of Lord Shiva, and then you will continue to receive his grace." As they followed the aerial voice's advice, Shiva was pleased with them. Pippalada, the wife of Dadichi, Suvarcha, is virtuous and highly accomplished. She was entirely devoted to her husband and would never be out of his presence because she wanted to be ever prepared to attend to his needs. Both husband and wife were devotees of Lord Shiva. When Indra complained to Brahma about the trouble he is being subjected to by the demon Vritra, Brahma said, "Sage Dadichi, praying to Shiva, obtained the boon which made his bones as hard as diamonds. Go please Dadichi and obtain from him one of his bones. With that bone you can make your diamond weapon which will enable you to kill the demon." Accordingly, Indra went to the hermitage of Dadichi, where the sage was reciting the sacred mantra Namah Shivaya. Indra bowed to the sage and, on being asked about the reason of his visit, told him the facts. Dadichi then said, "Indra, this is my hermitage. These are my weapons. All that is left is my body. Ask of me any of these things and you will have it." When Indra asked for the bones of the sage, the latter gladly yielded them to the Lord of the gods and then became united with the sun god as his life went out piercing his brain. Indra took the bones to his court and, after anointing them with the milk of Kamadhenu, commissioned Vishwakarma to make the diamond weapon with the backbone. The divine architect did so and offered to Indra the Vajra Yuddha diamond weapon. With the rest of Dadichi's bony remains and sinews, the god of death, Yama, got his rope of death manufactured. Here the wife of Dadichi lamented, "O cruel Indra, how dare you sacrifice my husband's life for your personal ends? Do you want to see the end of our clan? I am with child, and if I were to join my husband on the funeral pyre, as it behoves a pious wife, would it not mean that Dadichi had none to perpetuate his lineage? How can I live without my husband, even if I do not burn myself along with him?" The, go- the gods were uneasy about the repercussions of this pious lady's calamity. Meanwhile, an aerial voice said, "O Suvarcha, the sacred law decrees that pregnant women should not follow their dead husbands to the funeral pyre to commit sati. Rest assured that your offspring will shine with divine splendor." Suvarcha was partly pacified by this assurance, but she still thought it was right to join her husband in death. So, with a hard rock, she broke up her womb, drew out the fetus, and placed it under a Ravi tree. As she was awaiting the result of her action, from that fetus evolved a resplendent boy. Her heart thrilled with ecstasy. Addressing the newborn, she said, "Darling child, your parents had not the good fortune to bring you up, but you will enjoy longevity. You remain under this Ravi, offering all riches to the people who pray to you." So speaking, she ascended the funeral pyre, placing the responsibility of protecting her child in the hands of God. The fame of Suvarcha has gained eternal recognition by virtue of the great self sacrifice of hers. The child was named Pippalada by the gods. When he came of age, he married a girl named Padma. The happy couple lived happily together, blessing all their devotees with due recognition of their devotion. Pippalada's disembodied spirit entered the Ravi tree and ever since has been showering peace and prosperity on all those who prayed to it. Thus, the Ravi tree gained a preeminent place among the trees. Ahuka. In a forest near the Silver Mountain, a tribal by name Ahuka was dwelling. His wife was named Ahuki. Ahuka was in the habit of getting up early in the morning and praying to Shiva and Parvati after the ablution. Then he would go a hunt then he would go on hunting and bring home venison and the like needed for his and his wife's sustenance. His wife was a chaste lady, entirely devoted to her husband. She served the guests with exemplary hospitality, and only after attending to the needs of the guests do the couple eat their own meal. One day Shiva told Parvati, "I want to test this tribal Bhil couple. You transform yourself into a tigress and kill Ahuka. Then I will come there as a stranger guest and would put the Bhil couple to a severe test." Accordingly, they went to the Bhil dwelling. Shiva, as the stranger, after receiving the hospitality of the Bhil couple, told Ahuka, "Oh Bhil, I want to spend the night in your home because I am afraid of the wild animals in the jungle." The Bhil home is a tiny one which can accommodate only two people, but Ahuki said, "Dear husband, we cannot refuse the request of a guest. So you two sleep inside the home. I shall stay outside, keeping watch over you with my bow and arrow." But in the third quarter of the night, she could not keep herself awake and dozed off. Then there appeared a tigress, roaring ferociously. The guest pretended to be asleep even though he heard the roaring. In order to protect him, Ahuka got up, took up his bow and arrows, and went out to fight with the tigress. The tigress tore him up and killed him. Early next morning, Ahuki woke up and saw her dead husband. She also saw that the guest was unhurt. The aggrieved Ahuki then spoke to the guest. "Sir, my husband was killed. My place is with him, and so permit me to join him on the funeral pyre." Preparing the fire, she addressed the fire god. "O Lord of Fire, I cannot bear to live without my husband. Eat me up along with my dead husband." When she jumped into the fire, it became cool. Then Shiva and Parvati presented themselves before her and said, "O noble, chaste lady, we merely wanted to test your devotional spirit. Both of you proved yourselves to be exemplary devotees. Now receive your husband, who will just now come back to life." Ahuka got up as though from sleep. The couple then bowed to Shiva and Parvati and sang their praises. Shiva told Ahuka, "You will become the famous son of the king of Ayodhya, Veerasena, and will be known as Nala. Your wife will be Damayanti, the daughter of Bhimasena, king of Vidarbha. She will choose you from among the assembled suitors in the process of Swayamvara, wherein the bride garlands the man she loves in an assembly of many men who seek her hand. We will assume the forms of a royal swan couple and assist you in your courtship." So saying, Shiva and Parvati disappeared. In course of time, Shiva's boon came true, and the Bhil couple became the famous Nala and Damayanti, who lived happily together, thanks to their devotion of Lord Shiva. Manuji, you can take it from here. Also, Arpita, could I request you to please share your screen if it's okay?
Sure.
Okay, I'll stop this share now. Manuji, also, I would request you to please turn your camera on, if that's okay.
Manuji, you there? Can you also turn on your camera, please? Thank you.
Thank you. Namah Shivaya.
Namah.
Sambh Sadashiv. Namah Shivaya. Upamanyu. Sage Vyagrapad had a wife named Vimla, a very chaste lady, entirely devoted to her husband. Both of them were true devotees of Lord Shiva. Although they were attacked by poverty, they managed to serve their guests duly and would eat their food from what was left thereafter. Yeah.
By the grace of Shiva.
By the grace of Shiva, a good son was born to them. They christened him Upamanyu. The brothers of Vimla took her and the child to their home for a few days and brought up the child with extreme tenderness. Upamanyu was being fed by cow's milk and was clad in rich raiments. One after another, his uncles kept on fondling him. After a while, Vimla wanted to return to her husband along with her child, so the brothers escorted her back to her husband's home. After presenting her and Upamanyu with rich gifts, Vyagrapad was, as noted, rich in spiritual wealth, but not in material wealth. But little Upamanyu was not aware of this fact. Accustomed to the rich nourishment he got at his uncle's home, he asked his mother for cow's milk and like. Vimla's heart was broken, for they had no cow which yielded milk at that time. For want of something better, she gave him water mixed with some of the milk powder. Tasting it, Upamanyu said that what she gave him was not real milk, and asked her whether it was fair on her part to deceive him thus. At last, he requested her to breastfeed him. Because of her poor nourishment, she could not even suckle him. She regretfully conveyed her helplessness to her son. The 5-year-old Upamanyu told his mother, "I'm sorry I spoke rudely to you on account of my infantile ignorance. Please tell who can save us from this poverty, and I'll go and pray to them." Vimla replied that if he prayed to Shiva and Parvati, he would obtain all kinds of riches. When Upamanyu assured his mother that he would go and worship the divine couple in order to gain wealth, his father, who heard their conversation, said, "Boy, you seem to be very incoyous. All the worldly wealth is transient. The only prosperity that is eternal is spiritual riches. That is why, though we too worshipped Lord Shiva, we never sought material wealth from him. All that we requested for him was salvation. If you still want plenty and prosperity, keep chanting the holy mantra, Namah Shivaya." Upamanyu said, "Sir, if we get wealth, we cannot only live in comfort ourselves, but also help those in need. We will then have the necessary means to do good works and perform sacrificial rites and the like. So please allow me to go and worship Shiva." Both parents blessed Upamanyu and he went to the forest glades to perform penance. Seated under a banyan tree and turning towards Kailasa, Upamanyu began his penance, chanting the sacred mantra, Namah Shivaya. After a while, he heard these words, "Upamanyu, you are still a child. This jungle where the wild animals roam is no place for you. Stop this penance and go home." As Upamanyu opened his eyes, he saw Indra before him. Speaking further, "Child, if you give up this penance, I shall give you many rich gifts." Upamanyu replied, "Sir, stop all this nonsense. My sole aim in life is to see Shiva and Parvati. Till then, my penance will continue." Discouraged, Indra went away. As Upamanyu continued his penance, a tiger approached him and began roaring frighteningly. Yet Upamanyu did not stir a bit. Pleased with the boy's determined devotion, Shiva and Parvati appeared before him. Seeing them, he saluted them and said, "All that I wanted was to be able to see you. Now my wish is fulfilled. Please remain as consecrated idols in my home and accept my worship and service." Caressing the child's head, the divine couple said, "You have pleased us even as though you are a little boy. So we grant that till the end of Rudra age, which is ever recurring, you will be alive as a rich, healthy, and renowned youth, entirely dedicated to our worship." By the mere wish of Parvati and Shiva, the hermitage of Vyagrapada transformed itself into a mighty mansion. All the material that man could ever wish for his luxury and comfort was evident there. Upmanyu's parents realized that their son's penance was successful and were eagerly awaiting his return home. Glowing with spiritual splendor, Upmanyu was returning home. Struck by his resplendence, the people on the way offered him obeisance and escorted him with royal honors to his home. Upmanyu hurriedly ran up to his parents and fell prostrate at their feet. His parents knew not how to bless him adequately. They were merely shedding tears of rapture. The gods in heaven began showering flower petals on the child devotee. Then Upmanyu related to the assembly how he was unable to see Shiva and Parvati in person. Everyone was delighted. The parents embraced the boy again. Upmanyu and his parents thereafter lived in rich comfort and contributed to the good causes and patronized the poor and the needy. Pashupata weapon. Visiting the Pandavas in exile following their defeat in their gambling with the Kauravas, Krishna spoke to the eldest of them. O Yudhishthir, if you want to defeat the Kauravas and regain your lost kingdom, you have to pray to Lord Shiva. Then he went back to Dwarka. Later, sage Vyasa came there to inquire about the welfare of the Pandavas. After honoring him appropriately, Yudhishthir said, Holy sage, your arrival has brought us cheer. Just now, Lord Krishna advised us to win the favor of Lord Shiva. Please enlighten us on the best way of doing so. Vyasa replied, Indeed, Krishna's words must be implicitly obeyed. Arjuna is the most skilled warrior among you. If he worships Lord Shiva, he will obtain the Pashupata Astra. That weapon will enable you to achieve your desired aim. May Lord Krishna bless you. So saying, the sage suggested that Arjuna chant the Namah Shivaya mantra during his penance and then went on his way. Yudhishthira instructed his younger brother to go to Mount Indrakila, pray to Lord Shiva, and thereby fulfill the wishes of every one of the brothers. Mount Indrakila. Arjuna arrived at Mount Indrakila, which was a veritable feast to the eyes with its natural wealth and beauty. He found a delightful lake in the Asoka garden and decided to do his penance there. As usual, Indra, who is afraid of the devotee's possible usurping of his seat, came there in the guise of a celibate. He asked to Arjuna, Sir, who are you? Who is your favorite deity? What is the purpose of your penance? When Arjuna replied him duly, Indra said, You seem to be very foolish. You fell into Krishna's trap. I never heard of anybody who prayed to God in order to be able to defeat his foes. Krishna wanted to test you. Anyway, penance is for the people who want to gain salvation. Go back to your brothers, fight like a true hero, and win back your kingdom. Arjuna said, Sir, my wish is to get the Pashupata weapon from Shiva. I'll pray for salvation later on. Please don't discourage me, but bless me. Then Indra revealed himself and said, I admire your strong determination. I just came here to test you. Lord Shiva is always at the beck and call of his devotees. He will definitely grant your wish. Besides, I'll send some of my retinue to be always at your service. Blessing Arjuna, Indra disappeared. Arjuna stood on one leg and with one pointed attention continued to chant the sacred syllables, Namah Shivaya. Mukasura. The demon Mukha, assuming the form of a pig, approached Arjuna and circling him tried to pierce him. Arjuna saw the fire speck and began to think, this animal who is bothering me must be a demon. Its very sight arouses my hatred and enmity. It could not be a friend, for wise men like me can readily distinguish between a friend and a foe. So I shall kill him and do my penance in peace. As Arjuna was about to take out an arrow and fling it from the Gandhiv bow, he heard a terrible roaring. He discovered the sounds came from Lord Shiva. Arjuna's discovery was right. To save Arjuna, Shiva hit the pig with an arrow. At the same time, Arjuna also cast his arrow at the pig. The pig fell to the ground, revealing his true shape. The demon Mukha took to his heels. The gods showered flowers upon Arjuna. Meanwhile, Shiva ordered one of his men to recover the arrow. he hit the pig with. As the man was plucking out the arrow, Arjuna claimed that it was his own. Arjuna could not realize that it was Shiva's arrow that actually killed Mukha. Shiva's servant said, "Sir, you look like an innocent monk. Don't you know that you would incur sin by lying like this? My lord tried to help you. Do you want to be ungrateful to him? Do you think that Shiva's tribal servants will not come to my aid if you attack me and prevent me from plucking this arrow? Now repent and pray to Lord Shiva, who will grant you many more arrows like this one." Arjuna was adamant. "You do not know who I really am. I do not know who your real master is. Stop this nonsense and beg me to surrender this arrow to you. Then I may grant your request. If you do not like to do so, bring your master here." Kiratiswara, Lord Shiva, recognized the situation and told his consort, "Parvati, I would really enjoy a fight with the hero, Arjuna. I will assume the form of a hunter and battle with him. I will then have a chance of seeing his battling skill at first hand." Parvati said, "It is not fair on your part to test your devotees in this fashion, because you are by nature obedient to them. Please don't pick a quarrel with him, but assure him of your continuing protection." But Shiva was bent on his mission. He took along with him the tribal army of his. Arjuna was terribly impressed by the tribal leader's personal magnetism, and yet he did not flinch from hitting Shiva in disguise with his arrows in quick succession. On their side, the tribal retinue of Shiva kept on aiming their arrows at Arjuna. Arjuna tried to cut off the strings of the Shiva's army's bows, but Shiva did not flee. On the other hand, he caused Arjuna's hits to be ineffective and even broke his armor. Then Arjuna challenged Shiva to a duel. After a while, he was too tired to continue the duel, helplessly prostrate on the ground. Arjuna cast a solemn look at the tribal chief. In him, he could instantaneously recognize Lord Shiva. Seeking the Lord's forgiveness, he made his obeisance to his feet. Shiva embraced Arjuna in affection and admiration. The gods showered flowers on them. Shiva then told Arjuna, "I'm impressed by your penance. My idea in fighting with you was only to let Parvati see the nature of your valor. Now accept the Pashupata weapon by wielding which you will be ever invincible. Hereafter, you and your brothers will enjoy all prosperity and regain your realm. Give your brothers my blessings." Arjuna thanked Shiva and Parvati for their graciousness, and taking up his newly acquired Pashupata weapon, went back to his brothers. His brother and Krishna congratulated Arjuna on the success of his mission. Kunti Devi and Draupadi felt assured that their happy days would soon be coming again. Namah Shivaya. May I request to please somebody will read after, give me 10 minutes. I'll be coming back after 10 minutes.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you so much. Namah.
I will read. Atri and
Okay.
Anasuya. Blow up, ma. Bigger, please. Make it bigger. Sage Atri and his wife Anusuya were dedicated devotees of Lord Shiva. They were praying to the deity in Kamyaka forest. On account of the heat generated by their rigorous penance, the trees were withering. The flora and fauna also becoming extinct gradually. Even the rivers around were drying up. The other sages left the forest to seek refuge Shiva for succor. Shiva appeared before them and assured them that he would see that the heat of the parents of Atri and Anusuya would be decreased. Shiva then addressed river Ganga, embedded in his tresses, "Go to the hermitage of Atri and Anusuya and put them to a severe test." Accordingly, Ganga Devi went down to Atri hermitage. There, Atri just finished his penance. He was feeling extremely thirsty and requested his wife to fetch him water from his kamandalu, water vessel used by Aztecs. He was wondering why Lord Shiva was angry with him for he was aware that only divine wrath was the reason behind this, his thirst. Anusuya went in search of water. Nowhere was water to be found. Then he prayed to Lord Shiva to come to the rescue of her husband by enabling her to find water right away. Ganga Devi heard Anusuya's wail and took pity on her. She spoke in disembodied voice. Anusuya, you are indeed a nobly chaste lady. I am pleased with your devotion to God and to your husband. Just make a small hole in the ground behind. From that hole will rise pure water. You can take it and quench your husband's thirst. As Anusuya followed Ganga's instruction, the water tasting like ambrosia came up. Taking a kamandulu full of water from it, Anusuya requested Ganga to stay on there till she come back after giving the water to her husband. Meanwhile, Atri was uneasily wondering at the delay in his wife's return and at the anger of Lord Shiva. But just then Anusuya returned with water, informing about the arrival of Ganga Devi, quenching his thirst. Atri dropped tears of ecstasy on hearing of the grace of Ganga, went to meet Ganga Devi. On approaching the spot where the blessed lady had appeared, he composed a hymn in praise of her and begged her to remain there in one form of her myriad manifestation. The river goddess acceded to his request, and the little pond became a huge lake. Shiva and Parvati were delighted with the non-dual devotion of Atri and Anusuya, and the divine couple also stayed on there in the form of cosmic images to which the saintly couple prayed incessantly during their earthly existence. Madhu and Kaidapa. Before, before creation, the universe was filled with water everywhere. Lord Vishnu was resting on the banyan leaf, which was afloat in the waters. As he was sleeping, from ears came out two demons named Madhu and Kaidapa. They could not see the earth. After their vain quest. They returned to Vishnu and examined him intensely. Then they witnessed in Vishnu's navel the figure of prayerful Brahma. They asked Brahma who he was and why he was praying. Without answering their repeated queries directly, Brahma asked them in turn to tell him who are they. Madhu and Gaidaba spoke in unison. You are being impertinent. We are one of Vishnu's ears. Anyway, to satisfy your curiosity, we will tell you we are Madhu and Kaidapa. Now let us tell us who are you. Now tell us who are you. Brahma replied, I came out of Vishnu's navel lotus. I am praying to Shiva to enable me to initiate the process of creation. Then the demon duo said, you are foolish. You, you were who were born from the part of Vishnu's entity have no right to remain there if you want to receive Shiva's blessing. Go away to Kailasava. Else we will put you to shame. Upon which Brahma worshipped the mother of Vedas, the primal energy, Parasakti, the supreme energy incarnated herself in form of Kali on the 12th day of bright fortnight on the month of Palguna, about March. Then Brahma appealed to her, Mother, these demons are threatening my very existence. Save me. Shakti told him not to worry, but to wake up Vishnu up, who will protect him and kill the duo. The Vishnu opened his eyes. He ordered Madhu and Kaidaba not to quarrel with Brahma, the father of creation, but to seek his blessings. But the two demons said, you are not right. How can we tolerate the idea of a man born of your navel worshipping Shiva? We have the power in our own right. We don't need to seek Brahma's favor. Vishnu realized that the duo would come in the way of creation and told them he would give them a boon which would make them vulnerable only to himself. The two demons agreed to be killed by Vishnu with the proviso that he can kill them anywhere except on water. Vishnu placed the two men on his thighs and cut them into pieces with disc weapon. Brahma sang the praises of Vishnu and of Mother Shakti Kali. Mahishasura, buffalo demon. Mahishasura was the son of Rambasura. He received many boons from Brahma and with their aid was persecuting the gods and sages. They approached Brahma to plead before Shiva and Vishnu that unless Mahishasura was done away with, there would be no peace on the earth or in the heaven. Goddess Durga. Shiva made a sign to Vishnu. Next, he took out a bit of the energy of Mother Shakti and igniting it, created a maiden. The newborn goddess was filled with energy of Shiva on her forehead, with that Vishnu in her arms, with that Brahma in her feet, with that sun in the tresses, with the moon in her breast, with that of Sachidevi in her waist, and with that of Varuna in her thighs and in hips, and with Kashma in her buttocks, and with that Kotra Ripu in her fingers, and Girini in her toes, with the Datri in her nose, and with the Tretagni fire in her three eyes. To the divinely shining maiden were presented the spear by to the divinely shining maiden were presented the spear by Shiva, the disc by Vishnu, the conch and rope by Varuna, the Kamandulu bowl by Brahma, a silken robes, the diamond earrings and diamond ring, pearl necklace and golden anklets and golden bracelet and the silver and ankle ornaments by Milky Sea, the golden lotus by Malarvarti, the axe by Vishwakarma, the quiver by fire god, the bow by air god, the Kala staff by god of death, Yama, the sword and the shield by Kalamurti, the diamond armor and mighty weapon by Kamadhenu, the iron image by Himavan, the honest vessel by the moon, the diamond crown by Adisesha, the rosary by Prajapati. After giving the gifts, they all worshipped her as goddess Durga. Killing of the demon Mahishasura. Enraptured, goddess Durga roared as a sign of her intention to root out the evil and establish the good. The roar of the goddess resounded in all 14 worlds. Hearing it, the buffalo-shaped demon Mahishasura was angered and challenged her to a duel. Durga took up the challenge with pleasure, and after battling with him and his army from the first day till the 8th day of bright fourth of the lunar month, Aswayaju put an end to the entire retinue of the demon. Undaunted, the adamant Mahishasura uprooted many mountains and flung them at the goddesses, who turned into powder with their charmed weapons. On the 9th day of Aswajayu, the goddess assumed the form of Mahalakshmi and spoke to Mahishasura, "Oh, wretched demon, how are you dare to fight with me? Now your end is near." So speaking, she jumped upon him and crushed him under her feet, then pierced his body with her spear and tried to pull half of his body apart. However, Mahishasura managed to extricate himself from her hold and flying up to the sky began hitting her with a shower of arrows. Laughingly, repulsingly, his attack, the goddess took on to the shape of Saraswati, goddess of learning, and on the 10th day of their battle, cut off his head. The gods thanked her by way of raining flower petals on her. The Gandharvas sang. The Apsaras danced in celebration of the event. This very goddess Durga, assuming the form of Satakshi, killed another demon, Durgasura, with her three-pronged spear. By praying to Durga, Lord Parasurama earned his success over the Kshatriyas. By the grace of Durga, Kartaviriya Arjuna was able to rule the globe for thousands of years. All those who worship Durga will be worshipped with every kind of prosperity during the 9 days. plus 1 day of final celebration of event of killing of Mahishasura, festival of Dasara. The gods Durga is prayed in several ways and under several various names like Kali, Gauri, Mahalakshmi. Sage Mrigundu. The wife of sage Mrigundu is named Marudmati. She was wholly devoted to the service of her husband and used to treat his disciple as her own children. The Mrigundu hermitage was the very center of Vedic learning. The childless couple were uncomplaining about their fate but placed their faith in the merciful providence. The guests and the students were thanking their lucky start that they could find such a parental and material hospitality in the Brigandu's home. Disrespect. Brahma and his consort were seated in the royal court as they visited by sages from all corners of the world, but the gatekeepers did not allow Brigandu in because they said that the childless sages had no permission to enter Brahma's court. Realizing that it was no time to protest, the sage hung down his head in shame and returned home. Marudvadi was not to be seen welcoming him with her usual cheerful countenance. He went inside the hermitage and seeing her in distress, asked her the reason why she was sad. She replied, Lord, in your absence, many wives of the sages called on me as I was offering them hospitality. They asked me to assemble our children also there. When I said we had no children, they turned away, saying that they would not receive the hospitality of childless people. I am sorry that all my trouble in preparing their food was in vain. Brigandu informed her of a own similar disappointing experience in Satyaloka of Brahma. There and then the sage decided upon worshipping Shiva and Parvati. Marudpati also joined her husband in doing penance, chanting the name of Lord Shiva and his consort. Sage Narada, who witnessed their rigorous penance, was astounded by the sincerity of the couple's devotion and conveyed the news to the news of that fact to Lord Shiva. Attending the sage couple would be put to the further shame if he refused their prayerful appeal for progeny. Parvati was touched with a tearful filled voice. She said, Narada, I had many times appealed to my Lord to fulfill the wish of Brigandu couple for children, yet he had not acceded to my request. Now your information will convince him that he should not further delay his moon offer. So saying, she convinced Shiva about the need to favor his devotees, and together they left to the Brigandu's hermitage. Here at the hermitage, there were signs of coming beneficence. Mrigandu and Marudpadi realized the divine couple were on their way and were eagerly awaiting their arrival. Next month, Shiva and Parvati. In the celestial sphere, the music of Shiva retinue was reverberating, scintillating. In a little while, Shiva and Parvati riding the Nandi mount touched the ground. Brigandu and Marudpadi fell prostrate at their feet. Shiva said, Sage Brigandu, I am pleased with the devotion of yours and your spouse. But before I grant you your wish, I have to inform you that you have to choose between long living, ascetic, and unworthy son and a worthy and wise devotee of myself who will not live long. The sage couple, without hesitation, asked for a Shiva devotee, albeit he would not live long. So be it, said the Shiva, and returned to Kailasa along with Parvati. Margandeya, Marudvadi was with child. The wives of other sages congratulated her and celebrated the event in traditional style. On the auspicious day, she was delivered of a male child. The child was named Markandeya. Even as child, Markandeya was in the habit of going to the Shiva shrine, embracing and worshipping Shiva idol, reading the Shiva lore, chanting Namak Shivaya, praying to Shiva image with Bilva leaf and writing the name of Shiva 10 million times. Markandeya's Upanayanam was performed when he was 7 years old, and later he was sent to Gurukul to pursue the Vedic studies. Markandeya mastered the scriptural learnings within a short period of time. He studied all the branches of the Shiva scriptures, and with respect the elders as much he was worshipping Lord Shiva. Next. The parents of Markandeya were quite gratified by great learning and good contact of their son. Thus, 15 years passed by when sage Narada arrived at Brigundu's hermitage. After receiving the honors from the parents and the son, Narada told Brigundu, Sir, Lord Shiva granted only a limited span of life to your son, simply to test your faith. So please perform another penance and obtain the favor of Lord Shiva to see that your son lives long. Mrugandu and his wife decided to accept the advice of Narada. Means of salvation. The Narada addressed Markandeya, by the grace of Lord Shiva, you became the offspring of this pious couple. Besides, you have completely studied the significance of Shiva entity. If you keep praying on to him with non-dual devotion and dedication, you are sure to receive his blessings for long life. Markandeya went to the nearby Bilva forest and there installed the earthy image of Lord Shiva with due consecration during the three Sandhya period, morning, noon, evening. He was praying to God by reciting Rudraya hymns 11 times. He supported himself by simply eating fruits for some days and later by just chewing one bilva leaf. Thus 6 months passed by. The bookkeeper of Yama, Chitragupta, read out to the god of death the record of the worthy actions of Markandeya, but also mentioned now that the boy completed his 16th year, his lifespan was over. Duty bound Yama went down to the Bilva forest to carry away the boy saint to his kingdom of death, god of death. Markandeya heard the slight sound of tingling bell. Yama was arriving near his place of penance on his buffalo mount. Seeing death's long rope, Markandeya embraced the image of Lord Shiva tightly and prayed, Lord Shiva, God of mercy and compassion and forgiveness, the God of death is approaching me. You alone can prevent his carrying me away. I seek your refuge with all my heart, mind, and soul. The God of death was astounded at the uncompromising devotion of the boy saint, although he hated to take away the figure of saintly effulgence. He had no choice but to perform his apportioned duty. He threw out his lasso to pull out Markandeya, and it surrounded the Shiva's image along with the boy. Undeterred, Markandeya began worshipping Lord Shiva by unceasingly repeating Namak Shivaya. The grace of Lord Shiva, Yama began to draw his lasso. His pulling somewhat shook up the Shiva idol, and yet Markandeya did not release his holding of the image. Linga, Yama was feeling that the heat of the Markandeya's parents' power to be unbreakable. The clatter of the broken linga was heard on all the corners of the universe. From inside the linga, the three-eyed, angered Lord Shiva arose and threatening the god of death with his terrible trident, said, How dare you pull my own image? If you persist in your foolish attempt, I will pierce you with this Trishula. Yama replied, Lord, I lassoed Markandeya only because his lifespan had come to an end. Since the boy kept on embracing your idol, my lasso surrounded it. Forgive me for pulling up the idol along with the boy. Shiva said, Sir, be more careful in future in discharging your duty. In granting him a short life, I was merely trying to put his devotion to test. I will now make him long living. Now go back to your realm. Accordingly, Yama returned to his abode. Shedding tears of rapture, Markandeya bowed to the feet of Lord Shiva. The Lord's image blessed him. Oh, noble celibate, you have withstood the trials and tribulations of the test to which you were put. May you always remain 16 years old boy. Please me and my consent with your devotion. Please me and my consent with your devotion. Chiranjeevi, long living man. Markandeya performed 16 forms of consecrational prayer to image of Lord Shiva. Shiva and Parvati blessed him along with long life. Mrigundu and Maruddivadi thanked the divine couple for their mercy towards their child. Shiva and Parvati smilingly blessed them all again and disappeared. 12 lingas of divine light. Someswara Linga. In the region of Saurashtra, Someswara Linga is installed in the pilgrim center of Prabhasa. Daksha Prajapati had 27 daughters. All those beautiful girls were married to Moon. Rohini was the most accomplished among those beauties, so the Moon was spending all his time with her. The other sisters were naturally jealous of Rohini. Therefore, they complained to their fathers about Moon's misdeeds. Daksha suggested to the Moon that he should treat all his wives alike. The Moon was offended that Daksha was interfering in his internal affairs and rejected his advice. Consequently, Daksha cursed the Moon be struck with a tubercular disease. The brightness of moon rays was on wane. The plants and trees were losing their subsistence. Thereby, the moon was astounded and went up to his father-in-law and prayed for his pardon. Daksha told, go to the Prabhasha region and there install the linga of Lord Shiva in the form of Someswara and perform your penance by reciting Namak Shivaya. Then you will be freed from my curse. As Moon did accordingly, he felt the presence of Shiva and Parvati before him after some time. The godly couple told him, Chandra, you will gradually gain in brightness and lose it in the first half and second half in the lunar month, respectively. You will henceforth receive the love of all your wife equally. The Moon said, O divine couple, I beseech you that you stay on here in one form of your transcendent energy in this idol I have consecrated to you. They said, so it be, and entered in the idol in one form of their energy. The Moon was released from all the ill effects of his father-in-law's imprecation and returned to his celestial abode to enjoy all prosperity and facility in company of 27 concerts. Because the linga was installed by Soma, the image of Lord Shiva at the pilgrim is called Someswara. The idea is conveyed in this prayerful sloka Shankaracharya. Mallikarjuna. Anybody wants to read?
Manuji, you like to read?
Or shall I continue?
Please, and
Thank you.
sir,
Continue.
she's reading.
Oh, okay.
She's
Thank
reading.
Namah Shivaya. Samb Sadashiv. सौराष्ट्र देशे विशदे अतिरम्ये ज्योतिर्मयं चंद्रकला वतस्मं भक्ति प्रदान्य कृपावतरणं तम सोमनाथम शरणं प्रपत्ते. Mallikarjun at Sri Salem. Ganapati and Kumaraswamy are the beloved sons of Shiva and Parvati. The two boys were each pressing their parents that one's wedding should precede the others. To resolve this competition between them, their parents suggested that he who finishes first the trip round the world would be married first. Agreeing with the suggestion, Kumaraswamy started on the round trip on his peacock mount. Ganapati is fat and his mount is a humble rat, so he had no chance of competing with his brother on equal terms. But using his imaginative power, he just went around his parents in accordance with sacred authority, which sanctions the worth of the round-the-earth trip to the man who goes around his parents as Pitro cha pujanam kritva parakantim cha karoti yah tasya vai prithvi janyam pahalam bhavati nishchitam. Accepting the wise gesture of Ganapati, his parents gave two of Prajapati's daughters, Siddhi and Buddhi, in marriage to him. When Kumaraswamy returned from his round trip, Assured of his success, he was amazed to find his brother there already married, partly ashamed of his own lack of imagination and partly offended by the action of his parents in getting Ganapati married earlier, though a ruse as he thought. Kumaraswamy left the Silver Mount in huff and went down to the Cronch mountain in Sri Salem. Although Narada tried to dissuade him, Kumaraswamy vowed that he would never return to Kailasa. Shiva and Parvati, out of their great love for their son, went down to the Cronch mountain and tried to persuade him to return to the Silver Mountain. But they failed to convince Kumaraswamy. So they decided upon entering the pilgrim center in one form of their primal energy. This Jyotirlinga is named Mallikarjun, the Mallika, jasmine, standing for Parvati, and Arjuna, white, standing for Shiva. Sri Salem, where this linga of divine light is consecrated, is also known as Dakshina Kailash, the Kailash stationed in the southern region. The Purans declare that those that take a look at the tower of the Mallikarjun temple in Sri Salem would be freed from the vicious circle of birth and death and rebirth. Sri Sail Sikharam Drishtva Punarjanmana Vidyate. The prayer connected with this center is Sri Sail Sange Vibudha Ati Sange Tuladri Tunge Apimuda Pasantam Tam Arjunam Mallikarjun Mallika Purva Ekam Namami Sansar Samudra Setu Ujjain Mahakalingam Avantika. In the country of Malaya, on the banks of their river Sipra, lies the city of Ujjain, reputed as the place where the divine brothers Balarama and Krishna studied under their guru Sandeepa. One Siddha of miraculous powers, named Manibhatra, offered to the king of Avanti, Ujjwala, a precious sapphire, which would give the ruler the ability to get his capital city planned in the manner of Amravati, the capital of Indra's heavenly kingdom. The king commissioned, with the aid of the precious stone's miraculous power, the divine architect, Vishwakarma, to build a city an area of 12 square miles. That great city is called Ujjaini, Ujjain. It is also known as Avanti. It is said to be one of the 7 holy cities, a visit to which paves the way to salvation, as we learn from this sloka, Ayodhya, Mathura, Maya, Kashi, Kanchi, Avantika, Puri, Dwaravati, cha eva saptaite mokshadayakaha. In the city, there once lived a highly learned Vedic scholar named Vedapriya. He had 4 sons, Vedapriya, Priyamedha, Sukrita, and Suvrata. Vedapriya's life was dedicated to the worship of Lord Shiva, and his devotional spirit brought him worldwide recognition and renown. There is a mountain called Ratnamala near Avanti. On it dwelt a demon, Dushan. Envious of Vedapriya's fame, he entered Avanti with the intention of harming that Vedic scholar. All the other denizens of that town were extremely frightened, but Vedapriya remained unmoved. He continued to pray to Lord Shiva. Seeing him thus engaged, Dushan said angrily, "You, Vedapriya, throw away your Shivlinga, else I'll cut off your head." Vedapriya did not respond. Dushan tried to attack him. The scholar sought Shiva's refuge with these words, "Hara Hara Mahadev, Pahimam, Pahimam, Rakshamam, Rakshamam." Instantaneously, Bilva leaf came out of the Shivalinga, shining with supernatural glory, and put an end to the demon and his army. Appearing in his own form, Shiva told the scholar, "Vedapriya, I have fulfilled my duty of punishing the wicked and protecting the pious. Now seek whatever you want from me." The scholar replied, "Lord, all that I wish is that you remain here to save all your devotees." Accordingly, Shiva agreed to remain there in one form of his energy, and that linga of his is known as Mahakal Linga. Srikara. Among the rulers of Avanti was one Chandrasena, who was a devotee of Lord Shiva. Once a boy named Srikara, belonging to the shepherd clan, happened to see Chandrasena while the latter was engaged in worshipping Lord Shiva. The boy was thrilled at the splendid sight. He picked up a piece of the rock that was chipped off the Shiva idol and taking it home, anointed it with due ceremony. He decorated the piece of rock in the manner of Lord Shiva's image and started praying to that deity. Even when his mother called him to eat his dinner, he could not hear the voice because he was so immersed in his devotion. Angered at the lack of response from him, his mother threw away the Shiva image. Srikara felt his heart broken. He cried out, Lord Shiva, my mother set at naught my devotion and self surrender to thee. Forgive her, because she knew not what she was doing. Anyway, it is not the idol that matters, but my devotion to thee. If thou art satisfied with my prayer, please appear before me at once, or else I will put an end to my life. So saying, he fell in a swoon. The naturally tender heart of Shiva melted. He readily presented himself before the shepherd devotee and placed his hand on the head of the boy by way of assuring him protection. By the grace of that divine touch, the boy regained his consciousness. As he opened his eyes, he saw the Jyotirlinga, the idol of divine light, placed in the Mahakal shrine. Immediately, he embraced the image in reverential love. His mother, who saw him do so, was immensely gratified at the devotion of her son. At that point, the great devotee, servant of Rama, Hanuman, appeared there and declared, Srikara's devotion is matchless. It is only because of the non-dual nature of his devotion that Lord Shiva, with his consort, appeared before him. This boy was born by virtue of divine design. In the 8th generations of his clan will be born another great devotee, Nanda. His son will be born as Krishna, the 8th incarnation of Lord Vishnu. Completing his prediction, Hanuman disappeared. Chandrasen, who also was present there, was highly pleased and sang the praises of the pilgrim center, Mahakal, as expressed in the 3rd verse of the Jyotirlinga Stotam, Avantikayam Vihita Avtaram, Mukti Pradhanayam, Cha Sat Jananam, Akal Mrityu Parirakshana Artham, Vande Mahakal Mahasuresha. Omkareshwar, Parameshwar Linga. River Narmada branched itself into 2 streams. The river that flows towards the north retained the original name Narmada, and the one that flows southward is known as Kaverika. Where the river joins the sea, there is a fertile region which is known as Shivapuri as well as Mandhatapuram, because there the Emperor Mandhata prayed to and obtained the grace of Lord Shiva. Kapiladhara is the place of confluence with the sea for river Narmada. Sage Narad went to the Vindhya mountain on his way back from the pilgrim center, 𝐂𝐿𝐻𝐿. The mountain king Vindhya offered Narada due hospitality and inquired about the nature of the mountain king, who is said to be much larger than he. Smilingly, Narada said, I take pity on you. There is only one who is greater than you. He is Mount Meru. The sun, the moon, and the star revolve around him. The peaks of that mountain kiss the heavens. Saying that, the sage went on his way. Vindhya prayed to Lord Shiva so that he could become larger and higher than Mount Meru. The deity was pleased with his penance and offered him any boon he wanted. Vindhya said, Lord, I beseech you that you stay on my top in one of your forms of energy, and that you see that the 3 worlds consider me to be greater than Mount Meru. At the end of my life, I beg that I be granted the union with your universal soul. The gods and the sages who assembled there requested Lord Shiva to grant Vindhya's wish because it was just. Lord Shiva acceded to their request and installed himself there in the form of sacred symbol Om, as well as in the image of the master spirit Parameshwara. Shankaracharya's verse recounts the foregoing. Kaverika Narmadoya Pavitre Samagame Satjana Taranaya Sada Eva Mandhatri Pure Vasantam Omkar Isham Shiva Ekam Ide. Mount Himalaya, Kedarlinga. Of all the Himalayan peaks known for their holy atmosphere, the Kedar Pilgrim Center is the holiest. To its west flows the river Mandakini, to the east river Alaknanda. On the banks of Mandakini stands the holy shrine of Kedareshwar, and on the banks of Alaknanda lies the temple of Badri Narayan. Mandakini and Alaknanda have their confluence at Rudraprayag, and at Devaprayag they join the river Ganga. That is why all those pilgrims who take a dip in the water in the river Ganga justly feel that they have the benefit of visiting Kedar and Badri pilgrim centers by doing so. Nar and Narayan settling down at the Badrika ashram and daily bathing in the river Mandakini were in the habit of consecrating the Shiva image with the Mandakini water, besides offering the idol the bilva leaves and the lotus flowers. One day Shiva appeared before them. The duo said, Lord, we have been praying to thee with the idea of doing good to the entire world. Kindly incarnate thyself in one of thy forms at the Kedar Kshetra and grant the wishes of all those devotees who worship thee here. Since then, Lord Shiva has been residing there as Kedareshwar. The Pandavas once visited the Kedar Kshetra in order to test Bhim. Lord Shiva, Kedareshwara, assumed the shape of a Mahisha, buffalo, and was passing by. The Pandavas pursued it. Bhim dragged it by its tail. The tail snapped, and he could not hold the buffalo. The Pandavas converted the tail into a linga and consecrated it prayerfully, thereby enabling themselves to enjoy worldly bliss. The head of the Mahisha was installed at Nepal and was consecrated there as Pasupati, the lord of all living creatures. They who prayed to the tail at Kedareshwar shrine and to the head at the Pashupati temple in Nepal would be granted the salvation of rebirthlessness. Here is Adi Shankara's hymn to the Kedareshwara, who is prayed to by all the denizens of both heaven and earth. Maha Adri Parshave Chhatate Ramantam Samapujyamanam Satatam Munindra Sur Asura Yaksh Mahoraga Adhyah Kedaram Isham Ekam Ide Bhima Shankara at Dakhini Pilgrim Center. Among the Sahya mountain peaks, Dhakini is the most reputed. In the land of Kamarupa, there is a place called Dhakini, wherein dwelt a demon of the same name. His mother was Karkati, her father was Karkata, and her mother was Pushkasi. Karkata and Pushkasi tried to catch and eat up the disciple of sage Agastya, Shutikshana. Shutikshana cursed them to turn into ashes. The beautiful Karkati was roaming all alone in the jungles. The brother of Ravana, Kumbhakarna, saw her and fell in love with her. She told him that she was the wife of Virata, who was killed by Lord Rama. Still, he refused to listen to her plea to leave her alone and ravished her. Their child is the demon, Bhima, not to be confused with the Pandava of that name. Karkati told her son that his father and his uncle Ravana were killed by Rama and asked him to revenge their death by persecuting the godly race. Bhima prayed to Brahma and received the deity's blessings to gain matchless strength and valor. To test his newly acquired prowess, Bhima started persecuting the gods. Not content with the harm he had done to the celestial citizens, he went up to Vaikuntha in search of Vishnu. Vishnu could not be seen. Bhima returned home and imprisoned the king of Kamarupa, Sudakshina, and his wife. Sudakshina was since birth an ardent devotee of Lord Shiva. He and his wife prayed to Shiva for succor. Bhima threatened that unless they stopped praying to Shiva, they could not escape death at his hands. They replied that they would rather die than stop praying to Shiva. Forgetting himself with wrath, the demon asked them to pray to him. When they refused, Bhima flung his sword at the linga of the Lord. Then from the linga arose Shiva's Pinak weapon and turned Bhima's sword into powder. So did Shiva break into pieces the spear flung by the demon. Then when Shiva shouted in anger, the demon lost his consciousness out of fright and died right away. His retinue took to their heels. The saintly royal couple and the gods who saw the fight requested Shiva to stay there in one of his forms. Since he killed Bhima, their place where he is consecrated is known as 𝐁𝐴 𝐿𝐿 This idea is conveyed by this Jyotirling shloka of Shankaracharya. Yamadakine Shakine Samajahe Nishvayamanam Ishti Asanayya cha Sada eva Bhima Adi Pada Prasiddham Tam Shankaram Bhakta Hitam Namami. Sri Kasi Vishveshwara. Ravana defeated Vaishravana and became the Lord of Lanka. Then Vaishravana performed a penance, praying to Lord Shiva. Pleased with his penance, Shiva appeared before him and told him, "At the spot where I cut off Brahma's fifth head with my nails, I will offer you an area of 10 square miles. There build a holy city with the help of the divine architect Vishwakarma," saying which the Lord disappeared. Accordingly, Vaishravana invited Vishwakarma to build a mighty holy city in accordance with Vastu Shastra. When Vaishravana prayed to Shiva and Parvati, the divine couple, and entrusted him with the rulership of the northern world and renamed him Kubera, the city built by Vishwakarma is called Kasi. Kubera was ceded the lordship of Kashi as well as the Yaksha kingdom, with Alak at its capital. At the request of Kubera, Shiva and Parvati respectively incarnated themselves at Kasi as Vishveshwara and Annapurna. Since the city is surrounded by the river branches Varana and Asi on either side, it is also known as Varanasi. Varanasi is reputed for its wish-fulfilling presiding deity Shiva and for the alms-giving of his spouse Parvati in the form of their incarnations. The place where Vishnu performed penance is that holy city is called Manikarnika Ghat. Where Brahma performed a sacrificial rite is called Dashvashvamedh Ghat. Where Harishchandra kept watch over the crematorium is called Harishchandra Ghat. It is verily declared that death in Kasi would ensure immortality. Kashyam tu maranat mukti, because Lord Vishveshwara instructs in the right ear of the dead the salvation assuring Tarak mantra. Indeed, even the very thought of visiting Kashi has the effect of actually visiting the city, as this verse says, Kada Kasim Gamishyami Kada Darakshyami Shankaram iti Bruvanaha Satatam Kasi Vas Phalam Labhet. In the Kasi region itself are several other holy centers consecrated to the various deities, as one can learn from this verse. Vishvesham Madhavam Tundhim Dandapanim Cha Bhairavam Vande Kashim Guham Gangam Bhavanim Manikarnikam. Besides the spirit of goddess, Saraswati is latent in Kasi. Therefore, the Vedic scholars of Kasi receives her grace ceaselessly. Even during Pralay, period of annihilation, Kasi will avoid destruction because Lord Shiva would lift it up from the universal dredge by fixing it on his trident. The real purpose of the establishment of the Kasi Pilgrim Center and of the visit to it is to realize the essential identity of the individual creature with its universal self. This idea was conveyed by sage Agastya when he was taking leave of that holy city in order to go and quell the vanity of the Vindhya mountain. Sage Vyas paid a glorious tribute to the exemplification of all the assets of Lord Shiva in the city of Kashi. Adi Shankara, in his Kashi Panchak prayer, made it clear that by visiting the sacred city of Kashi and worshipping Vishwanath and Annapurna there, one begets the good results of visiting all the holy places, as well as the power of learning the truth of all philosophy, which is that the soul alone is real and that the body is unreal. The same Acharya praises Kashi in the following Jyotirlinga verse as the repository of the powers of Lord Vishwanath, who cleanses the devotee of his sins and creates in him the blissful awareness of the existence, consciousness, beatitude of the living God. Sa Anandam Anandavane Vasantham Anand Kandam Hat Pap Vrindam Varanasi Natham Anathanatham Shri Vishwanatham Sharanam Prapadde. Manikarnika. Vishnu, who dwelt in Kashi with the intention of effecting the universal creation, began worshipping Shiva. During the course of his rigorous penance, many a white drop that emanated out of his tired physique sprouted up into the sky. Looking at that development, Vishnu shook his head. Because of that movement, the diamond earrings on his right ear dropped down. Where that ornament fell, since then came to be known as Manikarnika Sthala. Manikarnika Sthal. Here, Shiva uplifted with his trident the city of Kashi, which was about to be submerged in the universal deluge. The cosmic person Vishnu, along with his consort, Mother Nature Prakriti, rested himself there. From the navel of Vishnu arose Brahma. With the permission of Shiva, Brahma began the process of creating the universe. Shankaracharya praised the Manikarnika Pilgrim Center as the hallowed ground, treading on which, with reverence, the devotee is assured of the kingdom of heaven. Kala Bhairav, in order to be freed from the sin of killing a Brahmin, went to Kasi and worshipped Vishwanath and Annapurna there. Shankaracharya hymned the Kala Bhairav deity as one who assures his devotee both worldly felicity and heavenly salvation. The Acharya, in singing the praises of Bhavani, declared that by thrice uttering that holy name, the worshipper is guaranteed deliverance from delusion and distress. Likewise, the great seer composed prayers of Dhundi, Ganapati, and Kumar Swami, highlighting their various individual virtues, which the devotee is able to reflect within himself by means of true devotion to those two brothers, the noble sons of Shiva and Parvati. Before worshipping Vishwanath and Annapurna, the pilgrim must take a dip with his clothes on the Manikarnika Ghat on the banks of Ganges and then pray to Vishnu as well as to the sun god. Triambakalinga on the banks of Gautami. In the region of Nasik, near the Sahyagiri, lies Brahmagiri. In its vicinity, sage Gautama built his hermitage and was dwelling in peace along with his wife Ahalya and his several disciples. By worshipping Lord Shiva for many years, the sage obtained many favors from that deity. After a few years, there was drought and famine in that area. The agriculture fields became barren. There was not even drinking water available. The cattle had no fodder, and the entire plant life withered away. All creation was crying for help. Sage Gautam prayed to Lord Varuna for 6 months. Pleased with his penance, the deity appeared before him and told him to dig a tank, which that god of waters duly fell up and which would never go dry. Gautama ordered a tank to be dug, which was replenished by Varuna. The area once again became fertile, and the people and the cattle had plenty of nourishment. Learning about that miracle, many sages, glow with their spouses, migrated to that place, built their respective hermitage, and were living in the peace and prosperity. One day, when Gautama's disciples went to fetch the pure waters from the lake for their guru's worship, there the wives of the other sages were about to take a dip in it. The pupils requested the ladies to make way for them. The ladies simply laughed at the boys, saying that it was not only their teacher that was entitled to use the holy waters for his worship, but every one of them also had to bathe there and take home that water for the consecration of their favorite deities. The disciples returned to the hermitage and reported the incident to Ahalya. Ahalya took the vessel herself and left for the lake. The wives of the other sages were staring at her inquisitively. Quietly, Ahalya filled her vessel and, without speaking a word to the ladies, returned home. The sage wives were offended at Ahalya's indifference. Bent on revenge, they told lies about Ahalya to their respective husbands. The other sages prayed to Ganapati, who, pleased with their penance, appeared before them and asked them to seek whatever they want from him. They told him, Lord, the disciples of Gautama and Ahilya shamed our wives. Grant that Gautama leave his hermitage along with his wife and his disciples. Ganapati reprimanded them for their ingratitude and warned them that their attempt would only recoil on them. Yet they persisted. Ganapati thought, One cannot turn a bad man into a good man, nor can make a bad man of a good man, any more than can a dog become a cow and a vice versa. So thinking, he turned himself into a famished cow and started grazing the fields nearby. Gautama saw that sight. He flung at that false cow a piece of grass, which he endowed with charmed powers. No sooner than the grass blade fell on it, the cow died. What a pity that even the sages, gifted with clairvoyance, are at times led by destiny into such a thoughtless action. As soon Gautama and his spouse realized that it was a cow in disguise, they feared what retribution might be in store for them. The other sages told Gautama that inasmuch as they cannot bring themselves to look at man who killed the holy cow, he and his wife must leave that place and go elsewhere. Gautama and his wife then left for a place about 4 miles away, and there built a new hermitage. The sage prayed to Lord Shiva there for the expiation for his thoughtlessness in killing a holy cow. Before leaving his old hermitage, Gautama sought the advice of the sages as to how best he can be freed from his folly. The sages suggested that he might go round the earth thrice, that he might similarly walk around the Brahmagiri for 101 times, that he might obtain the grace of Lord Shiva by assiduously worshipping his image, that with the help of Lord Shiva's grace, he might bring down the celestial stream Ganga to the spot where the false cow was killed, and that when the river flows at that place, he would install 1 crore lingas of Lord Shiva there and pray to them. When for a few days Gautama prayed to Lord Shiva, the merciful deity appeared before him and asked him to seek any boon he wanted. When Gautama confessed to his sin, Lord Shiva said that the real fault was with the other ungrateful sages. Then Gautama insisted that the Lord cause the river Ganga to flow along the path where the pseudo cow died, so that the cow may come back to life and deliver him from his sin. Accordingly, Lord Shiva released the sacred river from his braid. Gautama then prayed to the Mother Ganga thus: Mother Ganga, you are the most sacred of all rivers. After freeing me from my sin of cow killing, please sanctify the 3 worlds by causing your branches to flow here and everywhere. Ganga acceded to his request, but said that after flowing at that spot and over the 3 worlds, she would return to her abode in the tresses of Lord Shiva. Gautama was disappointed on hearing her words. He hoped that Ganga would keep flowing there as well as over the rest of the 3 worlds. Detecting the reason for the sage's disappointment, Shiva instructed Ganga to stay there for the duration of that Manvantar, the cyclical age. Ganga said that she would gladly do so, only if the Lord too would remain there with her. Shiva agreed to do so. Then Gautama consecrated the idol of Shiva there and called the aspect of Shiva's godhead there Triambakeshwara. Since Gautama brought down the river Ganga to that area, the stream is now known as Gautami. It is also called Godavari because the cow died there and was brought back to life, the flowing of the celestial stream. On the banks of the river Godavari, the sin remover Shiva shrines as Triambakeshwara, as this Jyotirlinga verse of Adi Shankara celebrates: Sahyadri pravase vimale vasantam Godavari triya pavitra deshe Yat darshanat patakam asunasham prayatitam trambakam isham ide. Sri Vaidyanath Lingam. Ravana, the lord of Lanka, was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. Even when he prayed to the Lord for a long time on Mount Himalaya, he did not appear before him. Undeterred, Ravana increased the intensity of his penance by sitting amidst the 5 fires, surrounding himself with the fire during summer, sitting in the rain during monsoon, and standing on ice during winter. When Shiva still did not present himself before him, Ravana decided on putting an end to his life. Accordingly, he began cutting off each of his 10 heads and was offering them to Shiva. Even when he presented the 9th head, Shiva did not take pity on him. When at last Ravana was about to swear his last remaining head, Shiva was convinced of his true devotion and appeared before him, saying that he could seek any boon he wanted from him. As soon as Shiva made his presence felt, the 9 heads of Ravana were restored to their original position. Ravana thanked the Lord for appearing before him and requested him that he install himself at Lanka, and that even when an enemy cuts off any of his heads, they be reinstated readily. Shiva agreed and offered Rama his Atmalinga to be consecrated at Lanka, with a warning that if Ravana put it down on earth on the way back home, it will be firmly rooted in that particular spot and cannot be removed. Vainglorious to his duly acquired power, Ravana did not grasp the inner meaning of the Lord's warning and was carrying the self-image of Shiva to Lanka. Lord Ganpati was offended that, as tradition demanded, Ravana did not pray to him in the first place. So he had devised a plan to see that Ravana could not make the Atmalinga his own. On his way back to Lanka, Ravana had to answer a call of nature. So he asked a passing shepherd to hold the sacred idol till he returned. The shepherd found the idol increasing steadily in its weight. Unable to hold it in his hands any longer, the boy cried, "O Ravana, I acceded to your request, under the impression that this is a small piece of stone. Now I am not able to bear its weight." Ravana was terrified. He feared that his whole penance would be in vain if the boy put down the idol on bare ground. Hurrying back, Ravana shouted, "Dear good boy, please don't drop that image. If you hold on to it, I will present you with a diamond necklace." However, the shepherd boy could no longer hold the Atmalinga, dropped it at a spot known as Chittabhumi, and disappeared instantaneously. The shepherd is none other than Ganpati in disguise. Ravana tried his best to pull out the Shiva image from the ground, but he could not. Even though his whole body was wounded and bleeding in the process, Ravana persisted in pulling out the idol. When he was shedding tears of dejection and disappointment, an aerial voice said, "O king of Lanka, you cannot uproot the Atmalinga. To let the wounds on your body heal, come here at midnight and pray to this idol." Pleased with this advice, Ravana placed his ring on the Atmalinga and uttered a prayer consecrated to Lord Shiva. Slowly his wounds healed. Enraptured, Ravana composed the Shiva Tandav Strotra, the hymn of Shiva's cosmic dance, which addresses the Lord as the embodiment of all universal virtues, and by worshipping the Lord, with which prayer the devotee is delivered from all earthly bonds if he seeks liberation, or endowed with all riches if he wants worldly prosperity. Still singing the praises of Lord Shiva, Ravana returned to the city of Lanka. The Atmalinga, which he installed, is known as Vaidyanath Linga, by praying to which the worshipper would be freed from all his ills, according to Adi Shankara, who composed this Jyotirlinga verse. Purva Uttre Prajavilika Nidhane Sada Vasantam Girijasmat Sametam Sura Asur Aradhita Pada Padmam Shri Vaidyanatham Tam Aham Namami. Naganathlinga. Once upon a time, there was a demoness called Daruka. In her childhood, she prayed to Parvati and obtained from the goddess the boon that her sons might live on the banks of river Sindhu amidst the seas. Daruka married a demon named Daruk. Both of them were living on the west coast in an area which extended up to 2,000 miles and were persecuting the sages in the area. Unable to withstand the persecution, the sages went to a sage for help. The great sage imprecated that all those demons who wronged the innocent sages would die instantaneously. Daruka shifted his residential garden into the middle of the ocean and was torturing all those people who were sailing by. One of the sailors who was imprisoned by Daruka happened to be Suparva, a devotee of Lord Shiva. Suparva placed an idol of Shiva in the prison and began praying to it, along with his co-prisoners. Learning about it, Daruka wanted to punish the prisoners much more cruelly, but in vain. Suparva sought the succor of Shiva with an increasingly earnest appeal. Shiva then appeared before Suparva and gave him the Pashupat weapon, with the help of which Suparva killed many a demon. Meanwhile, Parvati told Shiva, "Lord, Daruka is a devotee of mine. She received a blessing from me that her sons could live in the midst of the sea. So please save her. Shiva agreed and stayed there in the form of 𝐂𝐨𝐽𝐿𝐼𝐋. Shiva and Parvati were thereafter dwelling in the Daruka forest with the appellations Nageshwara and Nageshwari respectively. That those who pray to the divine couple would receive all blessing is the import of this Jyotirlinga verse. Yamye sadange nagare atiramye vibhushita angam vividhay cha bhoge shat bhakti mukti pradam aisham ekam Srinaganatham sharanam prapadde. Rameshwara Linga. After killing Ravana, Ram crowned Vibhishana as the king of Lanka. On his way back to Ayodhya, Ram, accompanied by Sita, Lakshmana, and others, stopped at Dhanushkoti. At the suggestion of the wise men, Rama wanted to install the Shivalinga at that spot as expiation of his sin of killing a Brahmin. Rama commissioned Hanuman to go to Mount Kailas and fetch an image of Lord Shiva. Even when the auspicious moment for installation ceremony was approaching, Hanuman had not returned. So Rama had no choice but to install the idol Shiva made of the sand particles. When Hanuman came back with the Shiva idol, he learned about what transpired. With distress, Sita and Ram were sorry to see Hanuman so distressed. Rama said, Hanuman, go remove the sand idol we already installed and replace it by the one which you brought. Hanuman failed to lift the already installed sand idol. Hanuman realized the power of Shiva's might. To place it, Hanuman, Rama installed the idol that the farmer brought alongside the sand idol. The one Sita built is called Rameshwara Linga, and the one Hanuman bought is known as Hanumadeshwara Linga. After the consecration of the idols, Ramalingeshwara appeared before Rama and told him, you are now freed from your sin of Brahman killing. I shall remain in one of my aspects in the two lingas you have installed, in order to protect all those people who worship the idols. It is popularly believed that every devotee who thrice brings the waters of Ganga from Varanasi and with them consecrates the idol of Rameshwara would be able to fulfill all his wishes. Here is the Jyotirlinga shlok dedicated to this place of pilgrimage. Sutamra Parani Jalarashi Yoge Nibadhya Setum Vishikaye Asankhye Sri Ramachandram Samarpitam Tam Rameshwarakyam Niyatam Namami. Grihaneshwara Lingam. The Ellora caves are world renowned for their frescoes. Near those caves is the Devagiri fort. In that place lived a devotee of Lord Shiva, the Vedic scholar Sudharma. His wife is Sudeha. The good couple had no children. Since it is said that the couple which have no son are deprived of salvation, putrasya gatihina asti. They were much perturbed in mind. One day, after visiting a neighboring lady who taunted her that she, Sudeha, would not be her, the neighbor's equal, because the former had no children and the latter had them. Sudeha complained to her husband about the incident. Sudharma consoled her duly and suggested that she touch one of the two flowers they laid on the idol of Shiva. Examining the flower she touched, her husband said that it is unlikely she would beget a child. Sudeha was dejected. Thinking over the matter, Sudeha decided to get her unmarried sister, Ghushmala, to marry Sudharma. She overruled her husband's protests and got Ghushmala and Sudharma married. Sudharma was treating his two wives with equal love. Preparing 101 earthy idols of Lord Shiva, Sudharma, accompanied by Ghushmala, was every day worshipping them before immersing them in a nearby lake. In due course, Ghushmala gave birth to a beautiful son. The boy was brought up in proper style, and when he came of the age, was married to an accomplished girl. Ghushmala was specially honored by her new in-laws, which aroused the envy of Sudeha. She thought that all this was due to her husband's neglect of her. Although Ghushmala asked her sister to treat her son as her Sudeha's own, Sudeha still bore her sister a grudge, and one midnight cut into pieces the sleeping son of Ghushmala. She dropped the pieces of the boy's body in the lake and returned to sleep in her bedroom. as though she were not aware of any untoward happening. The daughter-in-law of Kushmala went to meet her husband in their bedroom, but could not find him. Broken-hearted, after her search for him proved futile, she begged Sudeha to inform her about his whereabouts. When Sudeha expressed her inability to enlighten her, the daughter-in-law went to the prayer room, wherein Sudharma and Kushmala were worshipping the earthen idols of Lord Shiva. When Kushmala heard her daughter-in-law's lament, she said, "That compassionate Lord who gave me my son in the first place will now see to his safety." Then, prayerfully thinking of Lord Shiva, Kushmala left for the tank for the immersion of the earthen images of his, accompanied by Sudharma and the daughter-in-law. Kushmala found the pieces of her son's dead body and put them together, upon which the boy came back to life and bowed to his parents. His wife went near me. Everyone who saw the miracle praised Lord Shiva for his benevolence. The son revealed Sudeha's treachery to Bhumishala, but she had not entertained any vengeful thoughts against her wicked sister. Then Lord Shiva appeared before him. Kushmala, her husband, her son, and her daughter-in-law fell prostrate at his feet. Shiva admired Kushmala for his devotion and asked her to cut her sister's body in retaliation for her misdeed. Kushmala said, "Lord, I appreciate kind advice, but I know that thy grace, my sister will reform herself. Forgive her. Kindly remain in this lake in one of thy forms and protect all those that pray to thee." Thereupon Lord Shiva agreed to stay in the middle of that tank under the appellation of Grishneshwara. Here is the Jyotirlinga verse in praise of that bountiful and merciful Lord. Ilahapure ramya vasala ke asmin samula santam cha jagat varinyam vande mahodara tar sabhavam grahaneshwar akhyam sharanam prapatte. The power of Vibhuti, sacred ash.
Manuji,
Ji.
we'll be ending soon. Can we give the next two readers little chance to read today?
Okay, we are not going to complete it today.
No, I think we'll take it for another day. We
Okay,
have
okay.
at least 50 more pages left, if not more. I think it's 270 or 280
It is
pages.
21 pages is there. It will take another 3 hours.
Okay, I'll allow me to complete a little more, then I'll hand over if you allow me.
Okay, can you do one more chapter and then we can give it to the next reader? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Power of Vibhuti,
Okay.
finish and then we will give it to another person. Everybody has to read, ma.
Okay,
They have to
okay.
get the punya. No?
Okay, Anna, okay. Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya. Sambha Sadashiva.
You read this power of Vibhuti.
Okay. The power of Vibhuti, sacred ash. In the clan of sage Bhrigu was born the great Brahmin, Pranada, who was a sincere devotee of Lord Shiva. Merely surviving on forest leaf, he was offering a swear penance in favor of Lord Shiva. Once, when he was cutting the kusha grass, one of his fingers was cut. Since from his finger oozed the blood, which resembled the juice of the leaves, and since he lived on leaves, he is known as Pranada, the eater of leaves. Shiva went up to Pranada in the form of a Brahmin in order to grant him a boon. In a boon, Pranada began to run away from him, but the Brahmin caught him by the hand and said, "Why are you fleeing? Is it because my blood is leaf green? Just see how the sacred ash oozes if I cut my finger." When the Lord suited actions to his words, the ash did flow out. Seeing the miracle, Pranada said, "Lord, forgive my folly. I see that thou art Lord Shiva in the guise of a Brahmin. Please reveal thy real form to me." Shiva complied with his request and told him, "I am very fond of this sacred ash, and all those who smear themselves with it will be freed from their sins." Pleased, Pranada smeared himself wholly with the holy ash. The best form of the ash is that which is obtained from the sacrificial fire. This shloka should be recited at the time of smearing the sacred ash. Srikaram cha pavitram cha sok roga nivaranam loke vashikaram pumasam bhasmam trailokya pavanam. The ash sanctifying the three worlds is so beneficial to its wearer as to bestow on him wealth, freedom from disease and distress, and the ability to master all the world. Sambha Sadashiva. Namah Shivaya.
Thank you, Manuji, for your dedication.
Yeah.
Rajeshwari ji, please.
Rudrakshamala, a rosary. Once upon a time, Shiva paused during his penance and opened his eyes. From them, from them had flown drops of water, which turned into rosary beads. So they are named after him, Rudra, wearing the rosary beads which are beloved of Shiva. The wearer gains bliss and sees his heart's wish fulfilled. Among the flowers that are dear to Shiva are the lily and the jasmine, and among the fruits are the coconut and the banana, the shape of Om. The three root letters that together make up the sacred syllable Pranava, Om or A stands for Shiva, U for the primal energy, Parashakti, and for Parvati. So it is always beneficial to utter all the sacred mantras, prefixing and suffixing them with Om. Especially the five-lettered mantra Namah Shivaya uttered with Om confers immeasurable benefit on the utterer. The reason for this is that Shiva is the Lord of all studies, of all living creatures, and of all creative energy, as following Vedic mantra maintains. The glorious significance of Shivalinga. By worshipping the image of Lord Shiva, the worshipper begets all fruits of all his wishes. One can make the image from clay or silver or gold of the Trinity. Shiva is the greatest because even though he destroys, he is responsible for the recreation. Similarly, of all rivers, Ganga is the holiest. Of all mantras, Gayatri mantra is the mightiest. Of all linga images, the one made of clay is the best. Nandikeshwara. On the banks of river Reva, there is a town named Karnataka. There lived a noble Brahmin called Jnanasiddha. He divided his entire property among his sons, leaving his wife Sugunavati in care of his eldest son, Karmasiddha. He visited all important pilgrim centers, including Varanasi, where, deserting his mortal coil, he was finally united with Lord Shiva. Realizing that the last moments of his mother's life were approaching, Karmasiddha asked her to let him know her last wishes. She requested him to immerse her ashes in the river Ganga. He promised him to immerse her ashes in river Ganga. He promised to do so. Pleased, she breathed her last little later. Carrying his mother's ashes and accompanied by a servant, Karmasiddha went to Varanasi, where he was the guest of a Brahmin. The Brahmin householder released the calf to be sucked by the cow, but the calf would not leave the udder even after it had its fill of milk. So the Brahmin had to pull it away mercilessly. By mischance, the calf stepped into his own. Sorry, the calf stepped on the owner's foot. He beat the calf with big stick. Milking the cow, the Brahmin took the milking vessel and went into his home. Karmasiddha, who witnessed the scene, was distressed. He saw how the cow was pained to see the calf punished. She spoke to the calf. Child, all that Brahmin wants is milk. He doesn't care about our mutual love. I must teach him a lesson by killing his son early next morning. Tomorrow is the auspicious seventh day of the bright fortnight of the month Vaishaka. Since I caused the death of Brahmin child, I too must bid farewell to my own life. During the last stages of my life, you must also accompany me. I am doing all this to let people realize that we are not dumb beasts and that we must not be treated as such. Karmasiddha heard his heard this with utmost concern. The next day, the Brahmin householder left for another town on business and entrusted the job of milking the cow to his son. No sooner had the boy gone near her than the cow pierced him, despite the calf's protest to his death. Hearing the cries of the bereaved mother, the neighbors tried to beat the cow. The cow and the calf ran away and jumped to their death in the Reva river near the Nandikeshwara Pilgrim Center. Karmasiddha, who followed the escaping cow and calf, saw the tragic scene sorrowfully. As he was thinking over the whole tragic incident, Goddess Ganga appeared before him and said, "Today is the auspicious day. All those who are merged with the river Reva today are assured of liberation. Karmasiddha immersed his mother's ashes in the river and took a dip in it later. This disembodied spirit of Subnavati blessed her son before ascending to heaven. Remembering the story of the sanctity of Reva river and Nandikeshwara Tirtha, Karmasiddha returned home. Bhakta Kannappa. In South India, on the banks of river Suvarnamukhi, lies the pilgrim center Kalahasti. Here is consecrated the Kala Linga, which represents the nature of touch and smell, and which was there from the beginning of the time. Every day that Shiva image is worshipped by a spider, a cobra, and elephant. The spider spins flowers for the worship of Linga. The serpent would clean the idol with its hood and decorate it with the jewel on its hood. And the elephant would fetch the pure Suvarnamukhi water with its trunk and anoint the image with it. Thus, several days passed by. One day, the serpent, beside wiping the cobweb, actually crushed the spider with its hood. Then it realized the diamonds in its hood and made it up. Then it released the diamonds made in its hood and made it up an umbrella with the same hood to cover the linga devotionally and surround it with the rest of its body. Later, the elephant came, pulled away the serpent from the image, anointed it with water, and worshipped it with the lotuses and bilva leaves it brought. The vengeful snake leapt onto the elephant's trunk and stung it fiercely. Simultaneously, the elephant pulled the snake down with its trunk and crushed it under its foot. Thus, all the three devout creatures died at one and the same time, impressed by their devotion to him and sorry for their mistaken zeal which caused their mutual destruction. Lord Shiva revived them all at once. He asked them to seek from him any favors they wanted. They said that all that they went was all that they want was that he would stay there, assuming their collective names, beside enabling them to forget their mutual animosity. Since then, Lord Shiva had been protecting the devotees there under the appellation Kalahastishwara. Near this pilgrim center is a tribal village called Udumura. The tribal chief had a son named Tinnadu. He is an inhabit of he he is in the habit of killing the wild animals and offering them as food for his people. As usual, one day Tinnadu went hunting. He killed many animals. One wild boar escaped his arrow, so he began chasing it. The animal fled some distance and then suddenly disappeared. The tired Tinnadu rested under an Ashoka tree. As he dozed off, he saw in a dream a yogi who resembled Lord Shiva and who advised him to worship the Lord of the universe, whose image was inside a valley on the bank of a sacred river nearby. Waking up, Tinnadu went in search of the Lord of Universe, whose image is in nearby village. As soon as his eye fell on that holy idol, tears of rapture dropped down on his cheek. Realizing that his life was sanctified, he fell prostrate at the feet of the image and thus addressed it, Lord, why are you dwelling here amidst the wild beasts that roams about this valley? Have you no friends and relatives to take care of you, who will fetch you water when you are thirsty and feed you when you are hungry? There is no place for you. This is no place for you where people cook the animal food. Come along with me to Udumura, where I will nourish you with the honey and other gentle food. When there was no response, Tinnadu repeated his request and told the Lord that he would not stir until his request was complied with. Still no reply from the idol, and still Tinnadu was determined not to leave the place until his wish was fulfilled. He sent away the people who came in search, hunted a wild boar. He made victuals art of a dead animal and insisted on Lord's eating them. The Lord made no response as yet. Tinnadu repeated his appeal, saying that he would die if his request is unheeded. At last, convinced by the forlorn and fervent wails and appeals of the devotee, Lord Shiva appeared before him and said, Tinna, don't cry. I will accept the victuals. Get up. Since then, every day Tinnadu had been feeding the Lord with the victuals he prepared. When the priest went to the temple with the sacrament and water for consecration, he saw the remnants of the meat food. So he addressed the Lord, Lord, why did you tolerate this sort of desecration from some sinner? Why didn't you punish him suitably? As he received no reply from the Lord, he said, if you do not reveal the identity of heretic so as to enable me to punish him duly, I will kill myself in your presence here and now. Then Lord Shiva came into his presence and told him, although his method of devotion is not in accordance with the scriptural instructions, his devotion is as such is unimpeachable. He is Tinnadu. Just see how truly devoted he is, for he will be presently offering me his consecrated victuals, and you will realize why I gladly accepted his offerings. When Tinnadu arrived and offered the victuals as usual, the Lord did not receive them. As he keenly observed the idol, he saw that from one of the Lord's eyes tears were streaming down. He thought the reason why Shiva has not accepted the food was the incidence of tears. As the tears continued, even after he mopped them up and applied a piece of cloth heated by his warm breath to it, he dropped some herbal medicine into the Lord's eyes, as a result of which the tears did not stop but actually increased in their flow. Since all external aids failed, Tinnadu thought to pluck out his own eye and fix it on to Lord's tearful one. The tears from the already disabled eye ceased to flow, but strangely, the other eye began to drop tears. So Tinnadu plucked out his other eye and unmindful of gushing blood, attached it to Lord's second eye. Now blinded, Tinnadu verified with his hands whether the tears from both eyes of the Lord stopped or not. As he felt that there were no more tears, he danced with joy. The celestial regions reverberated with sound of divine drum beats. Lord Shiva reinstated Tinnadu's eyesight. The priest who witnessed all the proceedings from the behind of a tree ran up to the Lord's image and bowed to him. The Lord told Tinnadu, verily you sacrifice the organs of utmost importance. Sarvendriyanam Nayanam Pradhanam. I appreciate your uncompromising devotion, and that is why I gave you back your eyesight after testing your willpower. Tinnadu fell prostrate at the Lord's feet in grateful acknowledgement and with reverential abnegation. The priest and Tinnadu were then asked by the Lord to seek whatever they wanted. Both said that all they wanted was to have their minds entirely and all the time fixation on him. Shiva granted their wish, embraced them fondly, and immediately disappeared. Till the end of mortal life, Tinnadu ceaselessly worshipped Lord Shiva, and in the end was spiritually united with him. Bhakta Nandanar. In Tamil Nadu is a village named Adanur, wherein lived a Vedic scholar, Vishwanatha Dikshita. He lived up to all the 6 duties of a good Brahmin. He and his wife Sushilyavati were great devotees of Lord Shiva. Vishwanatha had a large landed property. He had many serfs. Once he wished to go on a pilgrimage. He then spoke to one of his 2 most faithful Harijan servants, Govind, who along with his son-in-law Kandasamy was constantly looking after Vishwanath's agricultural activities. Govind, I am not yet favored by Lord Shiva with children. So I hope that if I visit the holy place like Varanasi, I will be blessed with progeny. Till my return, please take care of my financial interests. I am leaving tomorrow on my pilgrimage. As Govind quietly expressed his assent, Kandasamy added, we assure you that your landed interest will be safe in our hands. But I have a simple request, sir. I am too poor to be able to journey to Varanasi. Kindly, therefore, pray to Lord Vishwanatha on my behalf also, and beg him for me to favor me with a son. His master said, I appreciate your request and admire your devoted spirit. I will send you to Varanasi after I finish my own pilgrimage and pray for you. Vishwanath and his wife at last reached Varanasi, and after performing the consecration and the anointment to Lord Vishwanatha, Vishwanath said, Lord, my life is sanctified by seeing thine image. Thou had granted me riches, but no progeny. I beseech thee, and thou favor me and my servant Kandasamy with sons. Thus, after several days of prayer and entreaty, Vishwanath and Lord Vishwanatha in his dream, Vishwanath saw Lord Vishwanatha in his dream one night, who assured him that he and his servant would before long be blessed with children. Finally, offering his prayers to Lord Vishwanatha and Goddess Vishalakshi, Vishwanatha returned home along with his wife. Thus, several days passed by. The wives of Vishwanatha and Kandasamy became pregnant. After 9 months, both were delivered of male offsprings. The Brahmin child was named Subramanyam and the Harijan child Nanda. Subramanyam's Upanayam was duly performed and he was sent to Gurukul to learn Vedas. Because of his raw age, he was indolent and associating himself with naughty children. He neglected the Vedic study. Vishwanatha was worried about his son's evil ways. All his efforts to reform him by hook or crook were of no avail. At last, disgusted with the boy's misbehavior, Vishwanatha sent him away from his home. Naturally, the tender-hearted mother was distressed. She could not speak against her husband's wishes, but prayed to Lord Vishwanatha for her son's quick reformation. After a while, the parents were greatly disturbed at the lack of news about Subramaniam's whereabouts. Here, Kandasamy was bringing up Nanda with much tenderness and affection. Nanda's manners pleased all people around him. He would fulfill his ablutions at regular hours, smear himself with sacred ash, go to the temple of Lord Shiva, and worship him regularly. He serves the fellow devotees and constantly obeys his parents' orders. He feels that all his doings were inspired by Lord Shiva and does his work as an offering to Lord. Learning about his good ways, the Vishwanatha couple were much delighted. Meanwhile, Subramanyam arrived in Varanasi. Bathing in the Ganges and praying to Lord Vishwanatha, he went up to a Pandit, told him all about his former ways, and requested him to guide him properly. The Pandit Jagadish Panda said, "Dear boy, don't grieve over what was past. You can stay here as my guest. I will teach you all the worth learning studies. Lord Vishwanatha will surely save you and bless you." The Pandit, sorry, just a minute. The Pandit Jagdish Pandit, okay, this is wrong. Before long, Subramanyam became well versed in all sacred studies and began studying Panini Sanskrit grammar. Whether at play or during agricultural activities, Nanda was ever mindful of Lord Shiva. His bullocks would plough the fields without his guidance, and his farm produce was higher than average. He would feed and otherwise help all Shiva devotees who sought his patronage. Nanda's grandfather Govinda was a little worried at the extreme devotion of Nanda. Even some of his neighbors thought that Nanda was afflicted with strange disease. Thus, several days passed by. In a neighboring village, Tirupangalur, a traditional festival Brahmotsava in honor of Lord Shiva was being celebrated. Nanda, along with his devotees and devotee mates, went to witness it in accordance with the guidelines offered by the Shaivite scripture. Now Brahmotsavam is being conducted at this place, Tirupanganur. Now it is taking place there. In accordance with the guidelines offered by the Shaivite scriptures, the sacred bull Nandi was consecrated at that place. Looking at Nandi, Nanda said, "Oh Nandi, please do not come in my way. I have been waiting here for a long time amid the vast crowds to get a glimpse of Lord's holy image." He could not realize that the consecrated Nandi could not step aside for his sake. When Nandi did not move, Nanda addressed the Lord. "O blessed Lord, at last I was able to see you. Bless me and save me." Nanda saw Shiva and Parvati in that Shiva idol. He began to dance with rapturous abandonment to the delight of witnessing adores. Eventually, he fell in a swoon. When he regained consciousness, Nanda pressed his friends to dig a holy tank in the vicinity. All the tools that they had taken with them were 4 nails, so they told Nanda that it was impossible task, and that unless they returned home before the next morning, they would be displeasing their master Vishwanath. Still, Nanda was adamant and actually started digging the ground with fervor greater than that of his friends who followed suit. By the grace of Lord Shiva, not only was digging of tank completed before dawn, but it was also automatically filled with nectar-like water. Nanda took his leave of Lord and returned home along with his mates. Subramanyam re-entered his home early one fine morning after completing a fruitful stay of 12 years at Pandit's home in Varanasi. At first, his parents could not recognize him. When he explained everything, they were immensely delighted and invited their friends and neighbors to listen to him as he expounded his knowledge. Everyone was pleased with Subramanyam's success. He presented gifts to the servants who came to greet him. His parents realized that it was due to the grace of Lord Shiva that he became a worthy man. On a certain night, Subramanyam saw Shiva in a dream. The Lord told him that he would receive instruction from one of his servants the next day. Subramanyam was eager to know who that servant would be. Next morning, he finished his ablution and prayers early and was examining his servants with intense care. Govind then met Subramanyam and said, "Sir, my grandson is even engrossed in devotional activities and is unmindful of even his food. He seldom attends to his diurnal duties and would not drive away the birds and beasts that enter our dwelling. We have thanks to your father's patronage every material need, but this absent-mindedness of Nanda worries us a great deal." Subramanyam knew this would be his man. Accordingly, he went to Nanda, who looked like a noble ascetic, Paramahamsa. Subramanyam bowed to him and befriended him. Both devotees who gained their powers through Shiva's grace since then began offering prayers to Lord together. The old-fashioned Vishwanath chided his son of befriending a Harijan like Nandanath, but Subramanyam continued to be friendly with Nanda. Once Nanda went to visit the Adra Darshanam, seeing the Adra star festival consecrated to Lord Nataraja at Chidambaram, and sought the permission of Vishwanatha for that purpose. Vishwanatha ridiculed him and disallowed his request. Nanda then said that he would rather die than stop paying his devotional respects to Nataraja. Vishwanatha said that since the harvest time was approaching, Nanda would be failing in his duty of attending to farming needs. However, as a challenge, Vishwanatha further told him that if Nanda could get the harvest ready for reaping the very next day, he could go on the pilgrimage. Nanda accepted the challenge and placed the burden of fulfilling his wish on Lord Nataraja. As he woke up next morning, finished his prayers to Lord Shiva, and then went to his farm, he saw that the harvest was ready for reaping. He thanked the Lord for his grace and getting the harvesting done by his people. Sent the produce to his master's home. Vishwanatha saw that the produce was double that of the previous years. Realizing that Nanda was a genuine devotee of God, Vishwanatha allowed him to go on pilgrimage to Chidambaram. Lighting the sacred candles, Nanda went along with his friends and comrades to Chidambaram. Subramanyam, unwilling to risk his father's angry disapproval, did not accompany Nanda. There you see that splendid Chidambara Kshetra. There you hear the chimes of temple bells ringing inspiringly. There you see a sea of devotees whose waves of devotional hymns dedicated to Lord Shiva overwhelm the minds and hearts of souls of the hearers. The Jangama devotees are smearing the visitors with sacred ash and are receiving gracefully their gifts. All the hordes of devotees are lining up to get their glimpse of Lord Nataraja and incarnation of Lord Shiva. The priest is giving them sacred water and holy sacrament in return to devotional offerings of theirs. However, Nanda and his mates were refused to enter the temple under the pretext of their untouchability as Harijans. Nanda did not want to protest or quarrel with the temple authorities, but simply performing the Shiva bhajan along with his friends. All the devotees who heard his inspired and evocative singing were moved by his melodious and sonorous voice and were surrounding him affectionately. The priests regretted their folly as the Lord opened their eyes to the universality of divinity immanent in all creation. Consequently, they gladly offered Nanda and his mates all the sacramental foods. Nanda and his friends accepted them as direct present from Lord Nataraja. The same night, Nataraja appeared in the dreams to the priest Sahasrar, Sahasrarchaka Shreni and said, Nanda belongs to the highest orders of ascetics. He is one of my dearest devotees, and if you deny entry to him and his mates into the sanctum sanctorum, I will leave this temple and will join him and his men. Thereupon the priests assembled in a group and after careful consultation agreed to allow Nanda and other Harijans into the temple. Here Nanda was unable to sleep, although his mates were dozing off on that night. He continued to supplicate Lord Shiva all night and said that unless he was granted direct darshan the next morning, he would put an end to his life. After the long supplication, Nanda fell in a swoon. When he regained consciousness and opened his eyes, he saw before him the repentant priests. He told them that his Lord was inviting him and asked them to take him to divine presence. The priests told him that they would willingly take him into the sanctum sanctorum because they realized that he was one of the Nataraja's supreme devotees. Nanda's complexion was suffused with divine splendor and he was chanting the songs dear to Shiva as he walked into the temple. The priest showed him the various halls consecrated to Shiva and Parvati. By his entry, the temple itself seemed to be gaining in resplendence, and Nanda was witnessing the godly idols with eyes half closed in rapture. At last, Nanda caused the sacred flame at the feet of Lord. At last, Nanda caused the sacred flame at the feet of Lord to flare up ecstatically and consume him. The priest who saw the glorious touching scene was astounded. After the flare quietened down, they saw no trace of Nanda. They rightly concluded that the great devotee became one with Lord Shiva, both spiritually and physically. They sang the praises of Nandanar with appropriate devotion and delight. The news of Nanda's supreme union with Lord reached his native village. On hearing it from the mates of Nanda, Vishwanatha was regretful of his former negligence. Vishwanatha and others went to meet Govinda, who, along with his son and daughter-in-law, was grieving the loss of Nandanath. Vishwanath consoled him, You are indeed blessed people. The fruit you received from one incarnation of Shiva, Vishveshwara of Varanasi, is now accepted by another incarnation, Nataraja. Nanda is supreme devotee and an ornament to whole Harijan race. You must all follow in his footsteps and be worthy of him. Hereby you too become one with Lord. Subramanya was sorry to lose his bosom friend, but at last he understood the true significance of Nandanar's communion with God, and marrying a chaste, good lady became the father of worthy children. He instructed several others in the ways of God. Govinda, Kandasamy, and their kith and kin were also reconciled to the loss of Nandanar and followed his example by becoming great devotees of Lord Shiva. Tirughyana
Ishwari ji,
Sambandhi. Yeah,
I
yeah.
think we'll stop here today
Okay, fine.
and
Namaste.
we will
Good. It's good.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we will
Thank you
finish it
so
off.
much, Rajeshwari. Yeah,
Okay.
I think tomorrow we'll be able to finish.
Finish it off.
But I like to thank each one of you who are present here to come and join us in this Parayan, and especially to our speakers for putting so much effort and reading this with so much love. So thank you so much. And I really, really hope that all of you can join us tomorrow. Har Har Mahadev. Good night,
Thank you, ma.
everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Good night. Bye.
Good
Best of
night.
lucks.
Bye.
Best of lucks, ma.